Chapter 1750, Crossing the Bridge in Secret, 3, Good. I'll be waiting here. Len Ruoxue agreed readily. Then, the middle-aged man ordered his men to bring them to their secret location. After receiving the order, this subordinate immediately went to the secret room where those people were locked up. At the same time, Len Ruoxue sent a voice transmission to her beasts. Charm. If you follow the men in black, you'll be able to find the person they locked up. Len Ruoxue reminded. Her spirit beasts had searched the bottom of the valley for a long time, but they could not find the place where the people who had been captured were kept. Now was a good opportunity. I know, Master. The May replied. Then, the few little beasts looked at each other and stayed in place, waiting for the black-clothed man to come to their door. They were now at the main entrance, which was the only path the men in black had to pass. In addition, they were invisible at the moment, so they easily followed behind the men in black. The man in black turned two corners and passed through a dark corridor. The May and the other small beasts followed the man in black into an underground secret room. The secret room was very spacious and there were no decorations inside. However, there was a pool in the left corner of the wall. The pool was filled with bright red blood, giving off a strong bloody smell. In the middle of the pool, there was a red flower that was as bright as fire. The flower had multiple petals and was the size of a millstone. It was in full bloom. Above the pool, there were countless fist-sized spheres. Those spheres were white and transparent, and each sphere contained a person or a beast. At this time, the mental state of those people and beasts were all extremely dispirited. Some were already on the verge of death, with only one breath left. Seeing this scene, the May and the other beasts could not describe the feelings in their hearts. Moreover, there were many beasts trapped in the ball. However, what made them even more troubled was how to release these people or beasts from the ball. At the thought of this, the May and the other beasts' gazes were fixed on the black-clothed man's every move. At this moment, the man in black took out the name list that Len Ruoxue had requested and carefully checked it. Every time he found a person, he would bring down the sphere that person was in. After finding all the people and beasts, the man in black cast a few complicated hand seals. Following that, the sphere disappeared and extremely weak humans and beasts were released from the sphere. What's the matter? Is it our time to die? An old-looking man asked. You're in luck, someone's here to save you. The man in black shouted. Really? The old man was still in doubt, and when the others heard his words, their reactions were calm. Or rather, they didn't believe him at all. Do you think I would lie to you? The black-clothed man said unhappily, but he couldn't help but think in his heart, Master really made a good deal. This was because even if these people were given to the other party, they would not be able to live for long. Their life force had long since withered, and the final outcome of them staying here would only be to become food for those monsters. Now, using them to exchange for that amazing spatial artifact was definitely a profit without loss, hee. In the future, they would be able to enjoy the benefits of that house, he thought to himself. I wonder who's the one who's coming to save us? The old man asked curiously. They had been trapped here for a long time and had no hope of getting out. Now that they heard that someone had come to save them, they were even more curious. A woman with the surname Leng. The man in black said. The woman with the surname Leng? The old man carefully recalled. In his memory, he did not seem to know any woman with the surname Leng. Why would she come to save him for no reason? He could not understand. Thanks, you'll see her in a while. Follow me. The black-clothed man ordered. After he finished speaking, he took the lead and walked out of the secret room. Seeing this, the old man looked at the others who were as confused as him and followed him out. After they had all left, the May looked at the people who were still in the secret chamber and felt hesitant. The remaining people did not have a deep relationship with his master, or it could be said that they had no relationship at all. So, should he save them or not? Should we rescue them? The May transmitted her voice to the other beasts. Save him. Why not? They're all money. Baby said a little miserly. It should be known that its biggest wish was to earn a lot of money for its cute master, so it would not let go of any opportunity to make money. Master sent us here to save people. However, we don't know many of these people, so we can't save them for nothing. Ling Chen thought for a moment before speaking in a serious tone. MMH. Good brother. Well said. We have to take risks to save people, so they should pay us. Baby gave Ling an appreciative look. Mai's head was full of black lines as she listened to the conversation between the two guys. If he wanted to earn money, then so be it. It wouldn't stop him, so why make it sound so grand? Then what are we waiting for? Let's discuss the conditions with them first, then let them out. Yao was not in a hurry. It had not shown itself for too long, so it definitely could not let this opportunity go. You guys go ahead. I'll keep a lookout for you. The Mei said very self-consciously. It was very self-aware. It knew that its mischievousness could not be compared to these guys, so it was more suitable for it to be on the lookout. Let's go and do something big. Baby said with a bandit-like expression. After saying that, it asked Ling to remove its invisibility and then walked to the side of the pool with small steps. What a strong smell of blood. Baby wrinkled his cute little nose and was a little disgusted. Sigh. A good flower was actually a blood-sucking one, she really didn't learn well. Then, it looked up at the top of the pool. The dying man and beast inside had clearly noticed its existence. They still had a trace of clarity, and all of them looked back at it with wide eyes. Hee. I'm here to save you. However, he couldn't save her for nothing. You have to pay a corresponding reward before I will let you out. How about it? If you agree, then nod your head. Otherwise, just shake your head. Baby said directly. These people's bodies were really too weak. It was really afraid that they would faint before they finished listening to its words. Then, wouldn't it have worked for nothing? When the humans and beasts in the sphere heard this furry, dark purple cute little fox's words, they all chose to agree, although they still had some doubts on their faces. Hee. You're tactful. Baby was very satisfied with their choice. Then, it gave a look to Ling who was still invisible. Ling understood and jumped into the air. Whoosh. Buzz. Whoosh. After a few flashes of light, those who had agreed to it fell to the ground one after another. Seeing this, they couldn't help but reveal a trace of shock in their eyes because they didn't see the little fox do anything at all. They were saved from midair. This was really incredible. One should know that the ball wasn't so easy to get down. Immediately, they were in awe of the treasure. It seemed that this little fox really had some tricks up her sleeve. Chapter 1751, Crossing the Bridge in Secret, 4. At this moment, they would never have dreamed that this was a trick played by Bao Bao and the other beasts to intimidate them and gain more bargaining chips for themselves. After seeing them land, Baby walked up to them with a little pride and said, "You've all seen my ability. Now, let's talk about my conditions." N. The people and beasts in the sphere nodded and looked at the treasure with eager eyes. Actually, my request is very simple. You just need to pay me a reward equal to your status, and I'll let you out. Baby said with a smile. There was definitely a trap in its words. Who asked it to not know the identity of these people, so it did not dare to casually state a price. Otherwise, if they could not afford it, then wouldn't they have worked for nothing? Moreover, it didn't want to be a creditor. To put it bluntly, it didn't give credit. Among these people or beasts, whoever could pay the money, it would take them away. Otherwise, they could stay here. It did not have any sympathy. When the people or beasts in the sphere heard Treasure's words, they couldn't help but look at each other. Was he asking them to bid for themselves? However, they were penniless now, so how could they afford the pay? Little Fox. To be honest, we don't have a single cent right now. One of the whales in the ball said. No money. It's fine if you have medicinal herbs and materials of equivalent value. I'll make do with it. Baby thought for a while and said. That's not it either. All the good things on us were taken away by the men in black when we were caught, so, the whale said with some embarrassment. It did not finish its sentence, but it believed that the smart little fox would understand. Then what do we do? Baby was a little dumbfounded. Woo, it's money-making plan. Was the fetus going to die in the womb just like this? No. It was unwilling. He didn't want to work for free. Why don't we owe him first? Most of us are respected in the divine realm, so we definitely want renege on your debt. The whale promised with a hint of anticipation in its eyes. I don't buy on credit. Baby said a little gloomily, but in his heart, he was thinking about how to get the good things that the black-clothed man had taken from them into his bag. It seemed that he would have to let you Shui and try it later, hee. If he could find those things, they would all belong to him. However, it didn't have much hope for this, because there were many places here that Feather couldn't see through, such as this secret room. Little Fox. Seeing that we're all beastie, please make an exception. Our beastie is the most trustworthy, we definitely won't go back on our word. The whale pleaded. All right then. Since you've said so, I'll give you face. The beasts can write me an IOU, but humans can't. Baby thought for a moment, and then said very seriously. Humans are the most cunning. Except for Master and the people around Master, it doesn't like any other human. Little Fox. You can't be racist. This is a clear difference in treatment. The human trapped in the sphere immediately became anxious when he heard this. I have no choice. I'm not a human, and I'm not familiar with you. If you lie to me, who can I cry to? Baby clearly didn't believe them. As he said this, his silver eyes revealed a trace of innocence. Thanks, little fox. To tell you the truth, I'm an elder of the Yao family. Our Yao family is one of the 8 great divine regions, and our status is only second to the Ning family. So, don't worry, I won't lie to you. How about I swear on the Yao family's reputation? Just trust me. An old man with a white beard and a haggard face in the ball said patiently. You're an elder of the Yao family? Hearing the old man's words, Baby squinted his silver eyes and asked calmly. MMH. It seems like you've heard of our Yao family, little fox. That's great. The Yao family elder said happily. Looking at the slightly excited old man, Baby's heart was filled with 120,000 points of sympathy for him. Of course, it had heard of the Yao family. Speaking of which, the Yao family seemed to have some grudges with them. However, looking at the old man's excitement, it really couldn't bear to discourage him. Sigh. Who asked it to be a kind-hearted little fox? After thinking about it, the baby spoke again with a cautious expression. Actually, I can't bear to leave you in the lurch. But as you all know, we beasts have never had a good impression of humans. However, seeing that you all are quite pitiful, I'll be kind this time. Little fox, you're a good beast. Thank you. The Yao family elder immediately tried to curry favor with his baby. Wait. Don't worry, I'm not done yet. Baby reminded. Then, it continued, I can save you, but your reward will be at least twice as much as theirs. Furthermore, you have to swear an oath to your family that if you agree, I will let you out. Otherwise, you can continue to stay here. I agree. The elder of the Yao family thought for a while and said. What about you guys? Baby's beautiful silver eyes were flowing with light as she looked at the others in the sphere and asked. I also agree. I also agree. The people trapped by the sphere expressed their opinions. Although the people he had saved had agreed to Baby's request, it was still not happy because these people had no money and had to write an IOU for it. Sob. It clearly did not want to be a creditor, but the situation forced it. The depressed baby stood in front of the ball on the ground and imitated the black-clothed man's method, striking out the magic art in his memory. In an instant, the ball broke into pieces, turned into starlight, and disappeared. Chapter 1752, Preparing for a Rainy Day. 1. As soon as the sphere disappeared, the humans and beasts trapped inside regained their freedom. They slowly got up from the ground and walked in front of the little fox one by one, saying, "Little fox, thank you for saving us." Everyone's thanks were sincere, but their gratitude was completely crushed by the treasure. "You don't have to be so polite. I didn't save you for nothing," Treasure said disapprovingly. Then, he took out a pen and paper from his storage space and handed it to the crowd and the beasts. When everyone saw this, they all understood what the little fox meant. All the beastie present also transformed into human form, took a pen and paper, and wrote down the first IOU in their lives. After keeping the IOU, Baby reminded, "Now you can swear an oath. Remember. You must swear on your family's bloodline." "What?" Everyone was dumbfounded. Didn't he swear on his family? Why did it become an oath on the bloodline of the family? One had to know that these were two completely different kinds of oaths. Most of the time, swearing on the family name involved the family's reputation or status, while swearing on the family's bloodline involved the descendants. He only owed it a little reward, and he wanted them to swear an oath with their family bloodline. This was a bit too much. "What, didn't you hear me clearly? I'm asking you to swear on your family bloodline," Baby asked with a puzzled look. Could it be that its words were difficult to understand? "That little fox, we won't go back on our word. So, there's no need to swear on our family bloodline, right?" The elder of the Yao family spoke on behalf of the crowd. After all, he was the first one to agree to this. If he didn't do it, he would have offended all the people and beasts present. "You've misunderstood me. I asked you to swear on your family's bloodline because I'm afraid you won't be able to pay off the debt you owe me, hee. If you can't pay them back, you'll have to ask the descendants of your respective families to pay them back. That's why I want you to swear on your family bloodline. In this way, they can't deny it even if they want to," Baby explained. "I don't have any intention of asking you to curse your own descendants," Baby added, worried. This time, everyone and the beasts understood. However, they were still a little unwilling in their hearts. After all, it involved their own family's descendants, so they had to be careful. Seeing that the crowd and the beasts were silent for a long time, Treasure smiled again. "It seems that you want to go back on your word. It doesn't matter, I, a great beast, am magnanimous and won't hold it against you. You can slowly stay here and wait for your death. Little fox. You've misunderstood, we're thinking about how to make the oath," the whale quickly said. He had to calm down this bad-tempered little fox first. Otherwise, if it left, they could only wait for death here. "Is there a need to think about this?" Baby raised its eyebrows. It didn't believe the whale at all. "Of course we have to consider it. It's fine if we swear on our own, but this concerns our future generations, so we have to be careful," the Yao clan elder said with a serious expression. "Thanks, old man. You care so much about your descendants, but when you were trapped here, did they come to save you?" Baby said with a hint of ridicule. In fact, it was well aware that these old foxes who thought they were cunning were afraid that it would use the oath to threaten their descendants. In fact, it wanted to say, "You're thinking too much." In its eyes, their descendants are not worth mentioning at all. However, in order to prevent these old guys from falling out with it, it had no choice but to ask them to swear on their family bloodline. It did not expect them to still be hesitant. If it had known this earlier, it really should not have saved them. The treasure was filled with hatred. "Ah! They don't know that we're trapped here, and with their strength, they won't be able to come back even if they come to save us," the Yao clan elder said somewhat embarrassedly. "We already know, how could they not know? Then isn't your Yao clan's information network a little too lacking?" The baby sneered at the Yao family elder's words. This old man was clearly finding excuses for his descendants and giving him face. If they were weak, could the Yao family's strength be weaker than theirs? They all dared to come in, but where was the Yao family? Ah! The Yao family elder was completely out of power. This little fox really had a sharp tongue. He realized that he couldn't out-talk it. This fact made him a little depressed. What's with the, Have you guys considered it? I'll give you 5 more minutes. If you're still hesitating after 5 minutes, I'll leave you guys be. Baby made the final announcement. Little fox. We don't know how to say this oath, why don't you give us an example? The whale said carefully when it saw that its baby was unhappy. You're still the smartest, you can even teach your beast taming. Baby said politely. Listen up. I, so and so, owe my precious master a reward of double my status. Now, I swear by the bloodline of the family that I will do my best to pay off the debt in my lifetime. If the debt is not paid off in my lifetime, my family's descendants have the obligation and responsibility to carry on this debt until the debt is paid off. Baby cleared his throat and said. By the way, Beastie's pay is double, don't make a mistake. Baby added. N. The whale nodded and helplessly swore. Following that, people began to swear on their bloodlines, and the contract rules continued to descend in the secret chamber. After a long time. After everyone and the beasts had finished their vows, Baby smiled in satisfaction and added, I forgot to tell you that my debt has a time limit. You have to pay it off within a month. Otherwise, there will be interest, hee hee. The interest is a compound interest. Therefore, you must make the best use of your time. The baby's additional explanation made everyone and the beasts so angry that they almost vomited blood. What did she mean by forgot to say? This detestable little fox clearly did not want to say it on purpose. Now that they had finished swearing on their bloodline, she told them about this waste of time. This was clearly not giving them a chance to regret. However, now that things had come to this, they really had no room for regret. Moreover, they finally understood why this evil little fox wanted them to swear on their family's bloodline. It turned out that she treated them as a long-term meal ticket. As long as they couldn't pay off their debts on time, they and their descendants would have to run around to pay off their debts in the future. This fact made their joy of being rescued vanish. Seeing their troubles, Baby said in a very understanding manner, actually, you don't have to be so depressed. As long as you pay off your debts within a month, everything will be fine, right? Don't forget, the reward I ask for is equal to your own status. It's only double that of a human S. So, you can do as you see fit. Pay me however much you think you're worth. There's no need to be so embarrassed. I don't mind how much you pay me, really. Chapter 1753, Preparing for a Rainy Day, 2. Baby's words were reasonable, but it was completely not the case in the ears of the people present. Many people could not help but think in their hearts, you didn't say how much we should pay you, but you said you want a reward equal to our status. In other words, they will pay each other however much they think they are worth, and every person or beast here more or less has some reputation in the immortal realm, so they naturally wouldn't do something that would lower their own status. It wouldn't be good if word got out. How would they face others in the future? Therefore, even if it was for the sake of their own face, the price they offered couldn't be too low. Otherwise, he would not have the face to continue living in the divine realm in the future. We don't have any money now. If we can't leave this mystic realm within a month, how are we going to settle this? The Yao family elder asked after some thought. That will count as interest. After all, we are only responsible for bringing you out of this secret chamber. As for whether you can leave this secret realm or not, it is not within our scope of consideration. Baby said matter-of-factly. Little fox. This won't do. You brought us out of here, so you can't just leave us alone. With our current physical condition, if you don't care about us, it won't be long before we'll be caught again. The whale quickly said in fear. Yup. You can't just abandon us. The other humans and beasts also chimed in. What, you're still counting on me to finish the whole pack? Besides, I'm not human. Baby said in an unpleasant tone. Little fox. You're the kindest and most adorable little fox, you won't leave me in the lurch, right? The whale coaxed. You're wrong. Although I'm cute, I'm not kind. I'll definitely not save you if I see you in danger. Besides, don't you know that I saved you for money? So, you don't have to flatter me. I don't buy it. Baby said arrogantly as he turned his head. However, if you want me to take you out of the mystic realm, you'll have to pay extra. And I can tell you clearly that our escort fee is very expensive. Then, the baby changed the topic and brought up money again. When everyone and the beasts heard baby's words, they all wiped their sweat. Fuck. I've never seen a fox that likes money so much. What's wrong with it having eyes for money? Of course, they would never have dreamed that the baby wanted to accumulate wealth so desperately, all for the sake of its lovely master. Seeing that the people and beasts present were silent again, baby smiled and said, hee hee. If you want to seek our protection, then write me an IOU and make a bloodline oath. If you can't pay it all off, don't you have your descendants to help you? So, don't feel any pressure and think about it. Baby's words made everyone look at each other and speechless. They really didn't know what to say. This little fox was not just greedy for money. Moreover, they couldn't find any fault in its words, so it made them feel even more depressed. Little fox. If we accept your escort, can you guarantee that you can bring us out of here safely? The whale asked again after a while. This is a must. The escort fee will be paid within a month of your departure. If there is any delay, the interest will also be compounded. However, I will not be responsible for your clothing, food, accommodation, and transportation here. If it is up to me to arrange it, the cost will also be calculated separately. The treasure's silver eyes quickly flashed with a trace of calculation as it explained. This time, baby's words were very clear, but everyone or the beasts were very depressed when they heard it. However, it was a good thing that their strength was there. They didn't need to eat anything and could just find a place to spend the night. Therefore, they didn't need to trouble the little fox in terms of food, clothing, shelter, and transportation, they thought. Thanks, little fox. We can take care of our own basic needs. Everyone looked at each other and said in unison. Alright then. You only need to pay me 1 million top-grade crystals or medicinal herbs, ores, and materials of the same value, and I promise to bring you out of the secret realm. Baby said with a faint smile. What? 1 million? You're a robber. When the crowd and beasts heard this number, they were all dumbfounded. Do you think it's easy to bring you old, weak, sick, and disabled out of the secret realm? In my opinion, this amount of money is too little. Baby raised his cute little head and said with an aggrieved face. You're trapped in the secret realm, so you should know better than anyone else how dangerous and terrifying this secret realm is. Otherwise, how could you have been captured with your strength? And we're taking a risk by bringing you guys out, so how can we be at peace if we don't ask for more money? Why would we be willing to take you guys with us? Without giving them a chance to speak, Baby's silver eyes were filled with tears as he argued. Ah! Baby's words made everyone speechless once again. They were indeed a burden now. However, as long as they thought of how much money this little fox had asked them for, their hearts ached. Baby saw through their thoughts and said with great sincerity, money is just a worldly possession. Do you think a mere 1 million top-grade crystal stones is worth less than your life? If you really value money more than your lives, then I have nothing to say. After all, this is your choice. Well, meet again. I hope that I'll still be able to see your figures in the divine realm in the future. I look forward to the day we meet again. After saying that, Baby took small steps and planned to leave. Wait. Seeing that the treasure was about to leave, the whale quickly said. Is there anything else? Baby turned his head and asked. I'm willing to pay 1 million top-grade crystals, but I don't have that much, so I can only use materials as payment. The whale thought ruthlessly, this little fox is right. Money is just a worldly possession. What's the use of money if I don't even have my life? Therefore, he was the first to think things through. He could not be with those anthropology checks that like to take advantage of small gains, or he would suffer a big loss. No problem. I don't care what you offer as a mortgage. As long as it's of the same value, I'll take it. Baby said with a smile, obviously very satisfied with this whale's way of doing things. Moreover, this fish was the first one to take the bait when it was playing hard to get, so it deserved its special treatment. You're the first customer to ask us to escort you, so I should give you some benefits. I'll pay for all your food, clothing, accommodation, and transportation, so I won't ask you for extra money. Baby thought for a while and continued. Thank you, he said. The whale was speechless. It didn't think that it needed to be provided with food, clothing, and accommodation. However, when it saw the food, clothing, accommodation, and transportation, it realized how wise its decision was. Baby saw the whale's disapproving look and didn't explain much. Instead, he turned his eyes to the others. Chapter 1754, Preparing for a Rainy Day, 3. If you don't need our escort, then let's part ways. I wish you all good luck. Treasure said straightforwardly, but there was a faint anger in its heart. These guys won't shed tears until they see their coffins. It should really let those black-clothed men feed them all to the fish. It thought in its heart. I request your escort. A rather petite man said in a low voice. He was also a beastie, and his home was in the endless sea. He wanted to return home safely, so he needed their help. No problem, he said. Baby nodded in satisfaction. Very good, another one has taken the bait. Soon after, another beast requested for the escort of the treasure. Just like that, all the beasts present agreed to the sky-high escort fee, while no one from the human side had agreed to it yet. Seeing this, Bao Bao didn't bother to ask for their opinions. He led the beasts who wanted to be escorted out of the secret room. When the Yao family elders and the others saw this, they immediately became anxious. Their bodies were extremely weak, and if no one protected them, their lives would be in danger. None of them wanted to die. Little Fox. Wait a minute, let's have a good discussion. The Yao family elder, who had received everyone's gazes, hurriedly said. What's there to discuss? Since your lives aren't as important as money, I can only leave you to your own devices. Baby said without the slightest bit of sympathy. Little Fox, it's not that we don't want to spend money, but your fees are too high, we can't afford it. The Yao family elder said with a pained expression. What a joke. If these orcs can afford it, why can't you elders of large clans? If you want to deduct money, just deduct it. Don't find excuses for yourself, okay? Otherwise, I'll look down on you. Baby said. It is. They just can't bear to part with money. Little Fox, don't care about their life or death. Humans and our beast race are not the same. The whale said, adding insult to injury. Of course, he said this to please the baby. Who asked this little fox to be his life-saving talisman now? That's right. All the beasts agreed. After their lives were guaranteed, they were naturally incompatible with humans. Therefore, they all added insult to injury. Little Fox. These humans were rich. If you charge us 1 million top-grade crystals, I think we can raise the price a bit if we charge them. They can afford it. A beastie suggested considerately. He was also playing into the little fox's favor. That's a good idea, then we'll take them in. Bao Bei smiled evilly and was about to say a new number. When the Yao family elders and the others saw this, they glared at Beastie who had come up with this bad idea. Then, they smiled kindly at Bao Bei and said, 1 million top-grade crystals, we agree. It's a deal. You're a good fox, so you can't just set a price on the spot. All right then. Baby deliberately put on a reluctant look, but in his heart, he was already laughing. Hee hee. No matter how cunning these humans were, how could they scheme against a fox? Then, Baby arranged for them to write a new IOU. Of course, they had to make a bloodline oath as well. After all, these two were different names. After everything was settled, Ling appeared and cast an invisibility spell on everyone and the beasts. Then, everyone left the secret room together. Before they left, Baby also took away those who were unconscious in the sphere. These were all potential customers. He couldn't let them go either. As soon as they left the secret room, Baby ran to the Yao family elder and whispered a few words to him. Instantly, the Yao family elder's face turned ugly, but he couldn't resist the temptation and finally nodded with a black face. Then, the man and beast sneakily returned to the secret room. The Mei led a few small beasts and the large crowd behind her. They went around the black-robed men outside the valley and stood behind Ling Ruoxue and the others. After leaving the valley and not being discovered by the black-robed men, everyone and the beasts immediately felt relieved. It seemed that the money they had spent was worth it. This invisibility technique was also very useful. No one actually sensed their existence. This time, their little lives were finally saved, and their hearts that had been hanging in the air all this time were finally put at ease. Not long after, Baby with a wicked smile and the Yao family elder also returned to the group. Thanks, treasure. Where did you go this time? Mei couldn't help but ask curiously. Hee. I've left some mementos for the flower. I believe it will never forget it. Baby's smile was very evil. It knew that there was something strange with that flower, so how could it be left there unscathed? That was not his baby's character. What did you do? The Mei asked uneasily. I didn't do anything, I just added something to the blood pool. Baby said in a mysterious manner. What did you add? Mei Qiaozhen asked. I added some human urine. Baby said with a smile. Ah. It can't be that Yao family elder's urine, right? Mei's forehead was filled with black lines. Hee. Congratulations, you got it right. Baby said with a slight pride. How could that old man agree to your request? The Mei said with some admiration. Hee. I promised to charge him 100,000 top-grade crystals less, so he agreed. Baby explained. You're amazing. The Mei was full of admiration for the baby. No big deal. Actually, I have another reason for looking for this old man. Baby said, deliberately mystified. What's the purpose? Mei's eyes widened as she shamelessly asked. He's from the Yao family. In the future, if there's any sign of trouble in the Yao family, we can go and ask him. He'll definitely tell us everything he knows, Baby said confidently. Nothing you don't know. Would he be so obedient to tell us about the Yao family? The Mei was suspicious of her baby's overconfident words. He can choose not to tell us. However, if he doesn't tell us, it'll make the matter of him peeing in the blood pool public. It'll see if he still has the face to continue living in the divine realm in the future. Furthermore, if the black-clothed men here know about this matter, they will definitely not let him off. Baby said with a scheming look. You're ruthless. Mei wiped the cold sweat from her forehead, feeling sympathy for the Yao family elder. Poor old man. You still don't know what you've gotten yourself into. Colluding with Baby would only result in him being schemed against until nothing was left. I'm just preparing for a rainy day. Baby said with a faint smile. Then, he jumped into Ling Ruoxu's arms and kept rubbing against her. While he was invisible, he wanted to take advantage of his cute master's tender tofu. After all, such opportunities were rare. Ling Ruoxue felt the movement in her arms and sighed helplessly. Then, her beautiful eyes turned towards the middle-aged man. Previously, she had already made a deal with the middle-aged man. However, less than 300 people had been handed over to her, and none of them were the ones she was most familiar with. However, Ling Ruoxue was relieved. As long as her godfather did not fall into the hands of these men in black, it was fine. Otherwise, she was really afraid that her godfather, the Great Elder, and the rest would end up like these people, being tortured beyond recognition and becoming thin to the bone. Chapter 1755, Preparing for a Rainy Day, 4. When will you leave the rest of the people to me? Len Ruoshua asked with a smile. As soon as I find them, I'll immediately hand them over to you. The middle-aged man said. That's good. I'll be waiting for your good news, but don't let me find them first. Otherwise, our deal can't be completed. Len Ruoshua reminded. If the transaction could not be completed, it would naturally mean that the transaction had failed. This is my territory. You can't find them before me. The middle-aged man said confidently. Good luck then. Len Ruoshua said with a smile. After she finished speaking, she led everyone back to the house, and the middle-aged man also returned to the valley with his subordinates. As for the pitiful Cheng Xian'er, she was completely ignored by both sides. The unconscious Cheng Xian'er lay on the cold ground with no one caring about her. After entering the house, the old man and the rest immediately gave Len Ruoshua a deep bow to thank her for saving their lives. However, at the same time, they were certain that they did not know this human lady. You old dolphin, I didn't think that there would be a day when you would be in such a sorry state. Uncle Long said to the old man. It was obvious that he was very familiar with this man. However, the old man did not recognize Uncle Long. He only felt that this person's aura was somewhat familiar, but he could not remember where he had seen this person before. You are, the old man was a little suspicious, and there was a trace of confusion in his eyes. I'm your Uncle Long. Uncle Long said loudly. Arg! Uncle Long. It's actually you, old man. The old man was suddenly enlightened. No wonder he felt that this person was somewhat familiar. It turned out to be that person. As for the beasts of the endless ocean, after hearing the two words Uncle Long, they immediately became excited, as if they had been injected with chicken blood. This person was too famous in the endless sea. He was a godlike existence. He was also their idol. However, Uncle Long had always lived in seclusion and rarely came into contact with the beasts of the endless ocean. Therefore, most of them had only heard of his name and had never seen him in person. Therefore, it was actually the first time for many of the beasts to see Uncle Long's true appearance, and this fact made them even more excited. Uncle Long. In the blink of an eye, Uncle Long was surrounded by the sea beasts that had transformed into humans. Thanks, What did I tell you? Didn't I tell you not to come here? However, none of you were willing to listen. Now, if it wasn't for the little girl who saved you, I'm afraid I wouldn't even be able to see your corpses. Compared to the beast's enthusiasm, Uncle Dragon's expression was rather cold. Furthermore, the first thing he said was to reprimand them. However, none of the beasts dared to refute his words. Uncle Long. We know we were wrong. The old man lowered his head and said with some shame. It's too late for you to realize your mistakes. Your life force is almost exhausted. All on your own. Uncle Long sighed and said helplessly. To cultivators, although their cultivation was important, their life force was their foundation. However, it was clear that these people in front of him had their life force taken away by someone else. This was even more despicable than destroying their cultivation. This kind of behavior was absolutely forbidden in the divine world. Therefore, Uncle Long could not think of anyone who had the guts to do such a thing in the divine world. Was he not afraid of being punished by the heavens? Little girl, thank you for saving them. Uncle Long shifted his gaze to Len Ruoshua. Uncle Long, you're too polite. Len Ruoshua smiled. With a thought, a blue mini dolphin appeared in front of everyone. Ancestor. As soon as the little dolphin appeared, it immediately pounced toward the old man. Little Chi. What are you doing here? The old man looked at the little dolphin in his arms and said in surprise. I came in with my master. The little dolphin said honestly. Master? You've recognized a human as your master? The old man said in disbelief. Their dolphin race had always been proud. Since ancient times, it was rare for them to acknowledge a human as their master. He did not expect that after not seeing each other for a long time, his most beloved junior would actually find a master. This could not help but surprise him. Its master is the little girl who saved you. Uncle Long added. Oh. Little girl, thank you for saving us. The old man thanked him again. Since things had come to this, there was no point in saying more. You're welcome. The little dolphin is my beastie. Naturally, I won't just stand by and watch its family fall into the hands of those black-clothed men. Leng Ruoshua answered honestly. Thank you for saving my life, miss. At this moment, the other sea beasts once again expressed their gratitude to Leng Ruoshua. After they finished speaking, Baby immediately revealed itself and brought the person it brought out to Leng Ruoshua. With a pale face, it said, Cute master. We've also brought back the people who weren't on the list. However, I've accepted their payment, Baby. This is their IOU. In addition, they've also made a bloodline oath, so don't worry, master. They won't dare to renege on their debt. After saying that, Baby handed the IOU to Leng Ruoshua. You're so capable, Baby. Leng Ruoshua looked at the thick stack of IOUs in her hands, her forehead full of black lines. What could she say? In fact, she had sent her beastie to the bottom of the valley just to let them sneak some people out from there. But they had taken the liberty to charge a fee. Not bad. As expected of her beastie, it had her style. Chapter 1756, Treasure Hunt, 1. Leng Ruoshua was a person who pampered her magical beast. Therefore, no matter what outrageous things her magical beast had done, it was good. She could clearly see that when her precious beast took out those IOUs and explained the matter to her, some people's faces immediately turned ugly. However, these people did not have much to do with her, so she did not care about their feelings. As long as her magical beast was happy, that was all that mattered. My lovely master. My baby can also earn money for you. Baby blinked his silver eyes as tears welled up in his eyes and he sighed. N. Leng Ruoshua picked up Baby's fluffy little body and caressed its fur. Baby closed its eyes in enjoyment, causing the other beasts to be extremely jealous. Master. Without me, there's no way they'll be able to get out of there. Ling Shi pouted and reminded him unhappily. It was also a hero. How did he get cast aside? Master. There's still me. I've also contributed. The referee also warned in an extremely dissatisfied manner. Good. Good. You all did well. Leng Ruoshua coaxed them one by one. She was amused. Under such a serious situation, these little beasts actually got jealous. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Ha ha ha. Little girl, with these little fellows, your life must be very lively. Uncle Long, who was watching from the side, couldn't help but laugh. Yup. Leng Ruoshua nodded helplessly. Arg. I've forgotten something very important. Suddenly, the baby cried out without caring about his image. Leng Ruoshua was astonished. What was wrong with her baby? Why are you so surprised? Master. Baby called out softly and then whispered into Leng Ruokshua's ear. Leng Ruokshua's expression turned odd after she heard that. Uncle Long. I'll have to trouble you to accompany them. Leng Ruoshua said helplessly. Earlier on, Baby actually told her that it had forgotten to search for the treasures in the valley and wanted to go back to look for them. Now that the men in black had returned to the bottom of the valley, how could she let it go back at ease? Although they could turn invisible, she was still worried. Therefore, she could only trouble Uncle Long, a senior with unfathomable strength, to help. All right. Even though Uncle Long did not know where this little girl wanted him to go with her beastie, he would not reject her request since Leng Ruoshua had saved so many of the beasties' lives in the endless sea. Ling, you. Let's go. Baby called for two of the most important beastie in this operation, then jumped on Uncle Long's body and left the house invisibly. Upon entering the valley, Uncle Long couldn't help but ask curiously, little guys, you just came out of there safely, why did you go in again? Uncle Long was very puzzled. No wonder the little girl asked him to come along. These little guys really made him feel uneasy. Uncle Long. To be honest, we're here for the good treasures in this valley, hee. I heard that these men in black were quite rich, so we decided to rob the rich to help the poor, and kill them all. Baby said with a smile, his little face full of pride. This is a good idea. However, do you know the location of the treasure? Uncle Long asked calmly. He should have guessed that the little girl's beastie was different, and now it seemed that it was true. Thanks, we don't know. Baby said with a silly smile. Ah. You dare to come in without knowing? Uncle Long was dumbfounded for a moment after hearing Baby's words. In fact, what he wanted to say was, why are you still so happy? Those who didn't understand the situation would think that it had found a good treasure. Hee. I have to explore it. Baby said matter-of-factly. Uncle Long couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat off his forehead. Now he was even more certain that the little girl had made the right decision to let him accompany her in. Otherwise, this hot-headed little fox might have ruined things. Treasure. The men in black have already returned to the valley, and their leader's strength is on par with mine. So, even if we are invisible, we have to be careful, understand? After being stunned for a while, Uncle Long spoke earnestly. Otherwise, he was really worried that this cute little fox who liked to run around would cause trouble for him. If he couldn't bring these three little fellows back safely, how could he face Ling Ruoxu's request? Therefore, he had to keep a close eye on them. MMH. Uncle Long, don't worry. The feather can see through things, we will only enter the place it can see. Ah. No, well only enter places where it can see treasures. We want enter places where it can't see through. The treasure reassured Uncle Long, but the cautious Uncle Long still didn't dare to let his guard down. Uncle Long followed behind the three little beasts, keeping only a few steps away from them. His eyes were also very vigilant of his surroundings. It was a pity that his divine sense couldn't be used here, otherwise, he would have known the situation further away. You. How is it, did you find it? After searching for a while, Treasure asked impatiently. Not yet. Feather's eyes glowed with a dim light as she stared at each door for a while. Then, she shook her head and walked to the next room. There were at least 800 to 1,000 rooms in the valley. Therefore, after looking through all the rooms one by one, you could not take it anymore. His eyes started to ripple. You quickly crouched down to rest. The black feathers on his body were already drenched in cold sweat. Seeing this, Baby walked to its side with a worried look. You. How are you? If you're too tired, we can go back. The baby was very considerate. Although it wanted to steal the good treasures in the valley, its companion's health was more important. If it tired you out while looking for treasures, it would feel guilty. I'm fine. I'll be fine after a short rest. You raised his head and said softly. In fact, the reason why he was working so hard was because he was eager to find a treasure to give to his master. Then have a good rest. Quickly eat this. Baby took out a divine power replenishing pill and handed it to you. I have one too. You can keep it for yourself. You declined politely. As a beastie's master, the thing he didn't lack the most was pills. After he finished speaking, he took out his own pill and ate one. Immediately, his complexion became much better. Uncle Long looked at the two little beasts in surprise as they casually took out pills to replenish their divine power. The spiritual chi flowing on the pills gave off a faint glow. With one look, one could tell that they were no ordinary pills. He immediately felt a little depressed. They were both beasts, but why was it that his life was so bitter, while these two little beasts could casually take out such good pills? He was a little jealous. However, if he knew that Ling Ruoxu's beastie was simply eating these divine pills as snacks, he would probably be so depressed that he would vomit blood. Chapter 1757, Treasure Hunt, 2. this pill is so high grade," Uncle Long exclaimed. Actually, he wanted to ask them where they got the pills, but he was too embarrassed to ask. "Of course, it's made by my lovely master, how could it be ordinary?" Baby said with a smug look. After he finished speaking, he ate the pill in his hand into his stomach as if it was a matter of course. He had already taken it out, so he couldn't put it back. The little girl made this? Uncle Long was a little surprised by this answer. However, what he couldn't accept even more was that the treasure had directly eaten the pill that he had taken out. This was really a waste of God's gift. That little fox was fine, so how could it directly eat such a good quality pill? One must know that during the battle between the two sides, any one of those pills was enough to change the outcome of the battle and determine the winner. But now, it was eaten by a lively little fox. Was there a situation more wasteful than this? Uncle Long almost went crazy. "Mmh. The pills my lovely master concocted are delicious, sweet and fragrant, making us love them more than we can let go. When we're free, we'll eat some to satisfy our appetite." The treasure was white again, and Uncle Long's face was full of tears. Woo! Uncle Long couldn't be jealous anymore. It seemed like comparing beasts to beasts would really anger beasts to death. Why was he living such a good life? Not only did he eat and drink well every day, but he also ate supreme-grade medicinal pills as if they were rice. He could no longer describe what he was feeling right now. He only knew that he had been dealt a huge blow. After a moment of silent contemplation, Uncle Long made a very difficult decision. He decided to cling on to Len Ruoshua, this thick and strong leg. He didn't ask for the same treatment as the little girl's beastie, as long as enough food was prepared for him every day. Recently, he had been fascinated by those delicious foods and didn't dare to imagine how he would live without those foods. After spending so much time with the little girl and the others, he did not dare to imagine how he would feel if he returned to that uninhabited oceanic trench. Sob. It was so painful. Uncle Long stood beside Yu and was remorseful. Yu, who had already rested, flew up into the air in high spirits. Then, he began to search room by room. After searching for a long time, they searched the houses in the valley like a carpet, but found nothing. Suddenly, Baby became a little depressed. How could this be? Could it be that those black-clothed men have moved the treasure away? Baby frowned and said unhappily. "Treasure. Calm down. This valley isn't small, and we haven't finished looking. Don't be disheartened. You consoled." "That's true." When Baby heard this, he immediately became energetic again. He looked at Yu with stars in his eyes and said, "Yu, why don't we go to that middle-aged man's place and take a look? Maybe that miser has brought all the good treasures with him." The baby looked at them expectantly, but Uncle Long objected, "No. It's too dangerous there. If he finds us, we'll be in trouble." "Uncle Long. Well, be careful and not let him find out. You forgot that we are invisible." Baby persuaded, but in his heart, he was thinking, sigh. He was a person with a high cultivation. She just liked to be careful, unlike them, who liked to mess around and let go. Treasure. That guy is a reverent god. Even if he can't see you, you'll still be in danger if he discovers an unfamiliar aura. So, I can't let you take this risk. Otherwise, if something happens to you, I won't be able to explain it to the little girl. Uncle Long said honestly. Then we'll just watch from the outside, right? We're not going in. Baby bargained. Thanks, all right then. However, you have to listen to me when we get there. Uncle Long knew that the little fox was a little stubborn, so he took a step back. Yes, yes. The three little beasts nodded their heads vigorously, extremely obedient. Uncle Long smiled helplessly at their cuteness. Then, he carried them in his arms and walked into a dark passage. That passage just happened to lead to where the middle-aged man was. This was also what he had heard from the black-clothed men. Therefore, it was not difficult for him to find where the middle-aged man was. Conceal your auras, don't let him detect you. Uncle Long reminded them as they approached the entrance of the palace. Yes, the three little beasts replied and quietly lay in Uncle Long's arms. Uncle Long approached the entrance of the hall and pricked up his ears to listen to the movements inside. At the same time, he sighed. He didn't expect that he would have a day where he could eavesdrop. At this moment, in the palace where the middle-aged man was, he was sitting on the throne with a gloomy face. Below him were many black-clothed men kneeling. All of them had their heads lowered and their bodies were trembling. Bang! A divine power as thick as a baby's arm shot out from the middle-aged man's palm. The pillar in the hall shattered into two, and the fear in the black-clothed man's heart deepened. Master, please calm your anger. The men in black said hurriedly. Calm your anger? How do you expect me to calm down? Everyone in the secret chamber has disappeared, and you've found nothing, not a single clue. Humph. If you're so useless, what's the point of keeping you? The middle-aged man's face was black as he said angrily. Initially, he was quite happy that he had reached an agreement with Leng Ruoxue. However, who knew that not long after he returned to the valley, his subordinates would report that the humans and beasts locked in the secret chamber had all disappeared. This haggardness immediately caused his expression to change. After all, this was not a small matter. If his lord found out about this, they would all be punished, and their lord's anger was definitely not something they could bear. Even if he was a reverent god, as long as he thought of his lord's means, he would feel afraid. The middle-aged man's reprimand rendered the men in black kneeling before him speechless, because they really couldn't find any clues. However, it was a good thing that the flower in the blood pool was safe and sound. Otherwise, they would probably be beheaded now. Master! Those rascals who sneaked into the valley and rescued the materials we locked up in the secret room were indeed very mysterious and impossible to guard against. Moreover, this subordinate investigated very carefully and there were no signs of human destruction in the secret room, so this subordinate concluded that they walked into the secret room openly. A black-clothed man who was closest to the middle-aged man said. Because he was usually highly regarded by his master, he was the only one who dared to say such a thing at this time. However, when he said this, the guard's face turned ashen, because it meant that the guard had seriously failed in his duty. You're saying that there's a traitor? The middle-aged man said indifferently. Master! This subordinate is innocent. As soon as the middle-aged man finished speaking, the man in black who was guarding the secret room immediately cried out. Master! No one dared to betray him. What I mean is that the other party might have some secret technique to enter the secret room without being discovered. The black-clothed man guessed and looked at the black-clothed man guarding the secret room without a sound. At this time, they were all like grasshoppers on a vine. If one person made a mistake, everyone would be implicated. Therefore, it was not a wise choice to push out a scapegoat. Therefore, the most important thing now was to get rid of the suspicion of their dereliction of duty, not to hit them when they were down. Chapter 1758, Treasure Hunt, 3, Right. It definitely was. Otherwise, it's impossible that we didn't feel anything at all. Master is wise. We've never left the door of the secret chamber. If an outsider really did enter the secret chamber, we'll definitely be able to sense it. The black-clothed man guarding the secret room quickly said, and cast a grateful glance at the black-clothed man from before. He had thought that the man was trying to hit him when he was down. It seemed that he had misunderstood. Then who do you think has the ability to bring away those dying people and beasts in the divine realm without anyone knowing? The middle-aged man said with a headache. He knew that his subordinates were telling the truth, but the anger in his heart was stuck in his chest, and he had no way to vent it. This made him more and more frustrated. It's possible that some reclusive reverent god came to save them. A man in black said in a low voice. A hidden reverent god? Who would have such an ability? The middle-aged man furrowed his brows as he pondered. Actually, after the theft, the first person he suspected was that damned woman. However, he then recalled that Leng Ruoxue was waiting outside the valley to make a deal with him and had no time to commit a crime. Moreover, with her strength, it was impossible for her to sneak into the valley and rescue those people without anyone noticing. Hence, after some thought, he ruled out Leng Ruoxue as a suspect. But who else could it be if not Leng Ruoxue? He couldn't think of this person even after cracking his head. Could it be one of those family heads? The man in black thought for a moment. Other than them, he didn't think there was anyone else who had that kind of strength. However, it didn't seem possible for those family heads to rescue her without anyone knowing. Unless they had some unknown means. Go and contact our hidden chess piece and ask him to quickly tell us their location. The middle-aged man ordered his subordinates. Master. Didn't his lord order that the hidden chess piece cannot be touched? The man in black looked at his master with some worry. He was afraid that his master would expose the existence of the hidden chess piece, which would anger his master. At that time, they would also be in trouble. This was the so-called one for all. One had to know that their fates were closely related to their master. We're in a critical period right now, so we can't care so much. However, be careful when you contact him. Don't let him be exposed. The middle-aged man was worried. The hidden chess piece was planted by his master. At this time, he was following the old men. Originally, he had no excuse to contact the hidden chess piece and ask him for their specific location. However, after this incident, he had a good excuse to find out their location from the hidden chess piece. In this way, he could find the people that the little girl wanted. This was really killing two birds with one stone. As soon as he thought of the people who had gone missing in the secret chamber, his mood would sink again. In addition, when you ask him if that hidden chess piece has any dissatisfaction, don't forget to remind him that he is also one of the people in charge of this secret realm. Now that such a thing has happened, he can't escape the blame. There's no need to say anything else, he'll understand. The middle-aged man added. Yes. The man in black received the order and immediately turned to leave this place of trouble. After he left, the middle-aged man's face became serious again, and his mind wandered without a word. The other men in black kneeled on the ground, not daring to move. Suddenly, the earth trembled and the entire hall shook. Seeing this, the middle-aged man stood up from his throne and loudly ordered, "Go and see what happened. Is there anyone attacking?" "Yes." The man in black who was kneeling on the ground quickly ran out after receiving the order. Not long after, the man in black who had left ran back in a panic. "Master!" Something big had happened. The blood cherry blossoms in the secret chamber are enraged. The man in black shouted. "What? How did this happen?" The middle-aged man's face turned pale. This was no small matter. This meant that. Quickly go and take a look. The middle-aged man didn't dare to waste a single moment. After he finished speaking, he took the lead and ran out of the hall. The black-clothed men followed closely behind. In the blink of an eye, the entire hall was empty. After they left, Treasure and the other beasts swaggered in. "You! See if there's anything unusual here," Baby said excitedly. This was the middle-aged man's old nest. It had to walk around. You nodded. Then, he started to search seriously. After a round of inspection, you did not find anything unusual in the hall. At this moment, a small door in the corner of the hall that was half the height of a man caught his attention. However, the door was foggy and he could not see anything clearly. "What's wrong with you?" Baby could feel that something was wrong with you and couldn't help but ask. "There seems to be something behind that door. Should we go in and take a look?" You suggested. "All right." The depressed baby quickly responded. Thanks, the three little beasts had just taken a step forward when they were stopped by Uncle Long. "No one is allowed to go. I can't even see anything there, what if there's danger?" Uncle Long said cautiously. He couldn't let these three little things take the risk. Not even a single hair. "Uncle Long." Although I can't see what's there, my instinct tells me that there's something strange there. So, I think we should go in and take a look. You explained. In fact, he wanted to say that his intuition told him that there was no danger there. However, that would mean that Uncle Long would not allow them to go. Uncle Long. If you don't enter the tiger's lair, you won't get the tiger's child. Since the men in black are not here, let's take this opportunity to go in and take a look. It's a rare opportunity. Baby advised. MMH. This is a good opportunity. Yu and Ling also looked at Uncle Long with anticipation. AI. Alright then. However, you're not allowed to run around. Otherwise, if you're really in danger and I can't save you in time, I won't be able to explain it to the little girl. Uncle Long said helplessly. We promise not to run around. Baby was the first to promise. Then, he immediately rushed into the small door. Uncle Long quickly caught the slippery treasure, looked at it seriously and said, "I'll go in first." He would go in first. If there was any danger, he could help the three little fellows block it. All right. Treasure said in a low voice, a little depressed. Woo. In front of Uncle Long, it was useless. Uncle Long rubbed Baby's fur and walked through the small door with a chuckle. The three little beasts followed closely behind. The moment they entered, they were stunned. After that, she couldn't help but rub her eyes. It wasn't an illusion. The item was still there. Wah! I'm rich. The baby cried out excitedly, and directly jumped onto the top-grade crystal stones that were piled up in the center of the ground like a small mountain. The crystals were colorful and had all kinds of attributes. Uncle Long estimated that there were at least tens of thousands of them. Then, he turned his eyes to the other parts of the house. The room they were in wasn't very big, only 10 square meters in size. In addition to the top-quality crystals of various attributes that were randomly piled up like a small mountain in the center of the ground, there were 4 shelves around the room. The shelves were filled with dense storage rings. Uncle Long picked one up and scanned it with his divine sense. His eyes widened instantly. Then, he picked up the storage rings on the shelves and checked them one by one. At the end, he didn't even know how to describe his feelings. This was because every item in this storage ring was worth more than the pile of top-grade crystals on the ground. Many of them were legendary and rare items that had long gone extinct. Even he, who thought he had seen a lot of things, was shocked speechless. If it wasn't for his strong self-control, he would have lost his normal state. However, when he saw the 3 little beasts jumping around on the pile of top-grade crystals in the center of the ground, the corner of his mouth twitched uncontrollably. Clearly, in the eyes of these 3 little fellows, the shiny top-grade crystals attracted their attention more. Uncle Long. So many top-grade crystals. We're going to be rich this time. Baby felt Uncle Long's gaze and said happily. Treasure. These top-grade crystals are the least valuable of all the treasures here. Uncle Long's mouth twitched as he spoke the truth. Oh. Then Master will definitely be happy, but I like these crystals more. The treasure was obviously only interested in these shiny stones, and the other things were not of much use to it. The little girl knows how to concoct pills, so she'll definitely be happy to see those things. Uncle Long agreed. Right. Only when Master refines them into pills will they be of use to us. Baby nodded. Then, it kept waving its little claws and swept all the storage rings on the shelf into its own storage space. Yu and Ling saw this and also helped. After clearing the small room, the 3 proud little beasts obediently followed Uncle Long and left the hall. Now that your wish has been fulfilled, can we leave this valley? Uncle Long asked immediately after they left the main hall. What he wanted to do now was to return the 3 little fellows with the huge treasure to Leng Ruoxue so that he would not have to worry about them. However, while wishes were beautiful, reality was incomparably cruel. Chapter 1759, Blood Cherry Blossom, 1. After hearing Uncle Long's words, Baby said with a conflicted expression, Uncle Long, I want to see that flower. Why are you looking at that flower? We should quickly go back and tell the little girl what we've heard so that she can take early precautions. Uncle Long said with a serious expression. The news he had overheard outside the main hall had shocked and angered him. He had never thought that the other party would have planted a spy around the people who had entered the secret realm. If that was the case, the people who had been tricked into the secret realm would be in even more danger. As a result, he had to tell this news to the little girl as soon as possible, before things got to a point where they could no longer turn back. The last time I left, I asked the Yao family's elder to pee in the blood pool where the flower is growing, so I suspect that the flower's rage is related to this. Therefore, I wanted to go and find out some news and watch the show at the same time. Baby said softly. As soon as it said this, Uncle Dragon, Yu, and Ling Quan could not help but stare at it with their eyes wide open. Don't look at me like that. I'll be shy. Baby blinked his watery silver eyes and said with some embarrassment. Treasure. Since that's the case, let's go take a look. You guys lead the way. After hearing what the baby had to say, Uncle Long finally came back to his senses. His face was filled with helplessness. Furthermore, he looked at the baby with a gaze full of surprise and disbelief. He really couldn't think of how this seemingly cute little fox could have so many unexpected and devilish ideas. This really made him. Hee. I knew Uncle Long was the best. Baby said with a fawning look. Treasure. To think that we're still comrades. You did such a thing and you didn't even tell us anything. You're really not a good friend. At this moment, Ling pouted his lips and spoke out in dissatisfaction. I didn't have time to tell you. After all, there were a group of outsiders present at that time. If they had heard it and word of it spread, how would I be able to survive in the divine realm in the future? Baby said in a slightly aggrieved tone, her beautiful silver eyes peeking at Ling Heyu from time to time. Baby's words are right, Ling. You don't have to be so calculative. Peacemaker, you advised. You're too easy to talk to. Ling glared at Yu and said with some dissatisfaction. What else can I do? You can still beat it up. Yu said helplessly. Ling didn't say anything else, but it still stared at the disloyal baby in its eyes. Ha. It's done. Why are the three of you fighting among yourselves? Didn't you want to see that flower? Let's go. Seeing that the three little beasts were actually bickering, Uncle Long was suddenly in a good mood. It's good to be young. He was always so energetic. It's more important to get down to business. The three little beasts' attention was diverted, and they hurriedly nodded. Then, they brought Uncle Long to the secret room. As soon as they entered the secret room, they saw the middle-aged man leading the black-clothed men to kneel before the bright red blood cherry blossom. The flower was shaking its branches emotionally, and the large petals on the flower head were also shaking, in danger of falling at any moment. The three little beasts were confused. They didn't know why the men in black knelt down to a flower. Their faces were pale as if they were terrified. However, the experienced Uncle Long understood. Damn it. Is this how you guys do things? A human face could be vaguely seen on the large flower pot. Although the facial features could not be clearly seen, the enchanting voice was enough to tell that the speaker was a woman. The voice seemed to have a hint of charm, so when she spoke, the black-clothed men immediately flushed red as if they were suffering great pain. Thanks, please forgive me, my lord. All the men in black said in unison as they endured the indescribable pain. That flower is their master. When Baby heard this, he could not help but widen his eyes as he whispered in disbelief. It seems so. Yu replied seriously. If I'm not wrong, this flower is only a clone, not the main body. Uncle Long said with a serious face. He knew that there was something strange about the flower the moment he saw it, so he took a closer look at it. The main purpose of this flower was probably to absorb more energy for its owner. However, it was only a clone, and it almost sucked all the powerful beings they had captured dry. From this, it could be seen how powerful and evil the owner was. Not the main body. Then wouldn't that old man of the Yao family have peed in vain? Baby said disappointedly. It had thought that it could add some nutrients to the flower. Now it seemed like he had worked for nothing. Why is there white urine? Uncle Long didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he patted Baby's little head and said, "This flower is mainly for sucking blood, but you added something else into the blood pool. Do you think the blood pool can still be pure? If I'm not wrong, this flower really flew into a rage because of your masterpiece." Really? Hee hee. It seems that my efforts were not in vain. After hearing Uncle Long's words, Baby proudly raised his little head and said, "Why would I do it for nothing? The effect seems pretty good. The only pity was that this flower was only a clone. If it was the original body, it would be impossible for the treasure to add anything to the blood pool." That's good. Uncle Long's praise made Baby's proud tail almost raise up. At this moment, the flower spoke again. "Forgive. You've ruined my big plan. You're clearly unforgivable, yet you still want me to let you go." As the flower spoke, it shook its branches excitedly to show its anger. Following that, countless feelers emerged from the flower. The feelers were long and thin, and there was a suction cup on the head of the feelers. The surface of the feelers was filled with sharp teeth-like thorns. When the men in black saw the suction cups, they immediately froze as if they had fallen into hell. Their eyes were wide open with fear. In an instant, the tentacle pierced into the bodies of the men in black. In the blink of an eye, the men in black fell to the ground one by one. At this time, they were already old and wrinkled, only a layer of skin and bones left. The three little beasts almost vomited. This was really too disgusting. The person who was still alive just now was sucked dry by the flower in the blink of an eye. This flower was simply comparable to a man-eating flower. It was wrong. It was even more powerful than the man-eating flower. Because the man-eating flower didn't have its speed. After sucking all the men in black dry, the blood cherry blossom waved its feelers in front of the middle-aged man, but it did not attack him. "Go and find out who added something unclean to the blood pool. After catching him, bring him to me, I want to deal with him myself. As for you, seeing that you're still useful, I'll spare you this time. If there's a next time, you'll end up like them." Blood Cherry Blossom warned without the slightest hint of emotion. Chapter 1760, Blood Cherry Blossom, 2, "Thank you for not killing me, my lord." The middle-aged man quickly kowtowed. In fact, he was quite aggrieved. A dignified hierarch was like a grandson in front of a flower, submissive and obedient. This made him feel quite unbalanced. One should know that hierarch was the top master in the divine world, but as long as he thought of his master's magical means, he could not even have the slightest thought of betraying her. Not to mention, his life was still in the hands of his master. Therefore, even if he felt that it was unfair, he had to accept it. This was the sorrow of being a subordinate. Good luck. After the blood cherry blossom warned him, it disappeared. After a long time, the middle-aged man stood up from the ground. At this time, the black clothes on his body were mostly soaked in cold sweat. Then, he walked out of the secret chamber with difficulty. After the middle-aged man left, Baby walked to the side of the blood pool and looked at the huge flower that was on the verge of collapse and in full bloom. He reached out his claws. "Little fellow, don't act rashly. If we are discovered by the true body of this flower, none of us will be able to leave this place." Seeing this, Uncle Long was so scared that he quickly held the treasure tightly in his arms. Now was not the time to pick flowers, his life was more important. "I really hate this flower. I want to pull out its petals and see how it can still suck human blood," Baby said indignantly. "Little ancestor. You don't want to live anymore. That flower is not simple." Uncle Long's face turned pale with fear as he hurriedly warned. "How is it not simple? Wasn't it just a flower that liked to suck people's blood? It's probably the same race as the man-eating flower." Baby said disapprovingly. Little guy, I'm afraid even I can't deal with this. Uncle Hua Long, don't you think it's simple? Uncle Long asked. Although he wasn't sure about the origin of the flower, he could tell from the pressure that the blood cherry blossom had just displayed that the flower's actual strength was higher than his. Otherwise, why would the middle-aged man address it as his lord? How could his lord be weak if he could make a reverent god submit to him? But, baby hesitated, it really wanted to rush the flower. Treasure. There's still a long way to go, so it won't be too late to pick up these flowers when you're stronger in the future. Let's quickly leave this place. Uncle Long urged. After he finished speaking, he extended his arm and hugged Ling Heyu before leaving the secret room in a hurry. On the way out of the valley, even though baby was filled with regret, it was still sensible and did not cause any trouble for Uncle Long. However, once they returned to Len Ruoxu's house, baby immediately snuggled into its master's warm embrace, unwilling to leave even if it meant death. Len Ruoxue, who was sitting in the garden, saw the baby's appearance and a trace of doubt appeared in her beautiful eyes. What's wrong with my baby? It was listless. My lovely master. Baby snuggled in Len Ruoxu's arms, ignoring the evil man's glare, and acted coquettishly with its master. Little girl, I have something important to tell you. The helpless Uncle Long said straightforwardly. What? Len Ruoxue saw the grave expression on Uncle Long's face and nodded her head. Then, she brought the evil demon and Uncle Long to the living room. After closing the door of the living room, Uncle Long told He Pan everything that he had heard in the valley. After Len Ruoxue had heard it, her expression turned serious. Thanks, he didn't expect Godfather and the others to have the other party's hidden chess piece. With such a time bomb by their side, wasn't it in danger of exploding at any time? At the thought of this, Len Ruoxue started to worry about the safety of her godfather and the others. Shwaa. Don't worry, the other party won't easily expose that hidden chess piece. Otherwise, the old man of the Ning family and the others would have been captured by the man in black long ago. Seeing Len Ruoxue's worry, the evildoer consoled her. I know, Len Ruoxue nodded. She was being overly concerned. She knew that Godfather and the others were strong enough to deal with any unexpected situation, but she still couldn't help but worry. I think as long as we quickly find Master Ning and the others and tell him about this, we'll find a way to find the hidden chess piece, and everyone's safety will be guaranteed. Uncle Long said. Uncle Long. Other than the few of us, don't let anyone else know about this for the time being, so as not to disturb their hearts and cause them to go out of control. Len Ruoxue said after some thought. I understand. Uncle Long nodded and continued, oh right. Little girl, a lot of the life force of those captured people has been absorbed. I wonder if you can concoct some life-restoring pills. If you can save them, they will owe you a big favor. If you need their help in the future, they will definitely do their best. A pill that can restore life force? Len Ruoxue was stunned. She had many pills that could replenish her divine power and heal her injuries, but she had never refined a pill that could recover her vitality. Uncle Long. How can a pill that can restore vitality be so easy to refine? Let's not talk about whether or not it can be successfully refined, I'm afraid we won't even be able to gather the medicinal herbs needed to refine the pill. The demon reminded. Although it would be beneficial for them to make those people or beasts owe Shwaa a favor, refining a pill that could restore vitality was not a joke. He didn't want Shwaa to work hard for those irrelevant people. What if she met a few ungrateful people? Wouldn't that be asking for trouble? I know. However, we just found a lot of precious and rare medicinal herbs and refining materials in the black-clothed man's treasure room. With those, it should be enough to refine vitality-restoring pills, right? Uncle Long said uncertainly. After all, he was an amateur when it came to alchemy. What kind of herbs do you have? When Len Ruoxue heard this, she asked curiously. Hee. There are so many good things that you can't even imagine. Uncle Long kept them in suspense. Although he didn't know how to refine pills, he was very familiar with precious natural treasures. This could also be considered a natural talent of beastie. My lovely master. It's all here. At this moment, baby took out a storage ring and passed it to Leng Ruoxue. Leng Ruoxue casually picked one up and inspected it with her divine sense. She was instantly overjoyed. As expected, they were all good things. And they were all things that she was very interested in. Then, she changed to another ring to check, and the joy on her face became more and more obvious. There's even dragon beard grass. With a thought, Leng Ruoxue took out a light green, finger-thick, crystal clear, and beautiful blade of grass. This was good stuff. Furthermore, it was the main ingredient in refining the best healing elixir. However, the dragon's beard had long become a legend in the divine realm, and she had only been lucky enough to see it among the herbs that her master had left for her. However, the dragon's beard was very difficult to cultivate. Therefore, the dragon's beard in her hand had always been lying in the storage room of the universal bracelet. Otherwise, Qing Ju would have made his move. But now that there was another dragon's beard grass, Qing Ju would probably be very happy. Chapter 1761, Blood Cherry Blossom, 3, Little girl, it's just a dragon's beard grass, calm down. There's even better stuff coming up. Uncle Long said with a mysterious smile. Really? Leng Ruoxue couldn't hide her joy as she asked with a face full of anticipation. After that, she found many herbs that were more precious than the dragon's beard. There was even a fish scale flower that even her master had described as a legend. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxue's mood could no longer be described with the word surprise. She was a little shocked. Baby, they've just razed the entire warehouse to the ground. When she saw this, Leng Ruoxue could already guess that these items definitely did not belong to the men in black. In the end, she was numb to it. After placing all the items into the bracelet and handing it over to Qing Ju for safekeeping, Leng Ruoxue gently stroked the baby's fur and praised, "Treasure. You guys did well." Hee hee. Baby smiled proudly. However, when he heard Leng Ruoxue only praise his beastie, Uncle Long was unhappy. Little girl, I did my part too. Why don't you praise me? Uncle Long pouted and acted cute. Ah. Uncle Long has worked hard too. I'll prepare a big meal for you tonight. Leng Ruoxue's face was full of black lines as she coaxed. This is more like it. Uncle Long was satisfied. Then, he said, little girl, now that you're so rich, it's not a big deal to support me, right? Uncle Long will be with you from now on. It is our honor that Uncle Long is willing to follow us. Leng Ruoxue could not help but wipe the cold sweat off her forehead. Then it's a deal. From now on, I, Uncle Long, am yours. Uncle Long said with a faint smile. However, his words scared Leng Ruoxue so much that she broke out in cold sweat. Leng Ruoxue looked at the evil man with a dark expression on her face and could not help but think in her heart, Uncle Long. Isn't he just following us? Did he have to be so ambiguous? Ha ha ha. They're the people who follow you. Uncle Long added tactfully when he saw that the evildoer's expression was not too good. AI. Looking at the mischievous Uncle Long, Leng Ruoxue felt helpless. She knew that Uncle Long was doing this on purpose. However, it was rare to see this side of Uncle Long, so it was quite novel. Sighing lightly, Leng Ruoxue turned to Uncle Long and said, Uncle Long, you should go back to your room and rest. I'm going to tell Fengde and the others to prepare dinner. With that, Leng Ruoxue and the evildoer left the living room. Just as they entered the garden, Leng Ruoxue heard a loud noise coming from the garden. She immediately exchanged glances with the demon and the two of them walked towards the source of the noise. What happened? Leng Ruoxue frowned as she looked at Fengde. Miss. This elder of the Yao family asked us to arrange accommodation for them, but I heard that we don't have to be responsible for their food, clothing, accommodation, and transportation, so we don't intend to arrange any for them. More importantly, there aren't that many rooms. Fengde reported truthfully. Elder Yao, didn't we agree on this before? Leng Ruoxue said as she looked at the Yao family elder who was leading the group. It was agreed. But, you can't just kick us out of this house. The Yao family elder was so angry that his face and neck turned red as he shouted at the top of his lungs. Those who had the same thoughts as him also glared at him. Why can't I? We've saved you from the secret chamber and are willing to take you out of the secret realm. Isn't that enough? Leng Ruoxue raised her brows and said unhappily. We have also paid you. Since you have agreed to take us out of this secret realm, you should naturally protect our safety. How can you drive us out of this house? The elder of the Yao family said angrily. He would rather die than leave this place. There was no place safer than here. Where's the reward you paid? It was just a bunch of white notes, and he had the nerve to say that he paid? Moreover, the one who said that you don't have to be responsible for your food, clothing, accommodation, and transportation is you, right? This house is within the living area, so what's wrong with Feng De and the others asking you to leave? Leng Ruoxue retorted. Naturally, she was siding with him. Her words immediately rendered the Yao family elders speechless. After a long while, the Yao family elder finally stammered, we don't want to live in a room, okay? You can't be so heartless as to chase us out of this house. We will lose our lives if we stay outside. Thanks, if you don't want to go out, then pay. What's there to say? At this moment, the precious item in Leng Ruoxue's arms spoke in a cold voice. We've paid so much money, but we don't even have a place to stay. Now we want to stay in the courtyard, and you still want us to pay. The Yao family elder and the others widened their eyes in disbelief. We agreed on this back then. Besides, I haven't received your money yet. Baby spread out his little paws and said in a businesslike manner. You promised to take us out of the secret realm. The Yao family elder reminded. That's right. I did say that, but I didn't say that I have to ensure your safety before you leave the secret realm. So, the condition for taking you out is that you have to stay alive. Baby explained with an innocent look. This time, the Yao family elder and the others were all dumbfounded. If they were not willing to protect them, then why would they spend so much money to have these people escort them out of the mystic realm? This was a loss-making business. Of course, if you want us to be responsible for your safety in this secret plane, you'll also have to pay separately, including food, clothing, housing, and transportation. In short, I only collect money for one thing, and am afraid you'll find it expensive, so I separated all the payment. I've put in a lot of effort for you guys. Seeing that they didn't say anything, Baby could only talk to himself again. After listening to Baby's words, Feng De and the others laughed in their hearts. None of them had expected that Baby, who usually loved to act coquettishly with their miss, would be so good at making money. This black-hearted and ruthless drive made them forget it. Did you hear what the baby said? Getting you out of the secret chamber is one thing, getting you out of the mystery land is another, and your safety in the mystery land, as well as your clothes, food, and accommodation are all counted separately. So, don't get it wrong, you only paid for getting out of the secret chamber and the mystery land, and you didn't choose any other items. Also, I only saw a pile of white slips, not even the shadow of a crystal. Therefore, don't tell me how much you've paid us. I'll just take it as a big joke. Leng Ruoxue said in an unpleasant tone. In fact, she didn't want to be so harsh to them, but these people had only been in the house for less than half a day and they had already started to stir up trouble. Furthermore, they were led by the Yao family elders. She, who had never had a good impression of the Yao family, naturally wouldn't let go of this opportunity to teach them a lesson. She wanted them to know that no matter what their previous status was, when they were here, they had to listen to her. Moreover, even if they were to stay outside the house, there wouldn't be much danger as long as they don't expose themselves. After all, Ling's invisibility was very useful. However, Leng Ruoxue guessed that these people would never have thought that she would still let Ling cast an invisibility spell on them. Otherwise, they would not have judged the heart of a gentleman with the heart of a villain, even though she had never thought of herself as a gentleman. That. Miss Leng, let's have a good discussion. After a long while, the elder of the Yao clan gave in. At a time like this, he did not want to fall out with Len Ruoxue and the others. Initially, he had only wanted to use the power of the masses to make Len Ruoxue and the others not dare to look down on him. At the same time, he would fight for more benefits for himself. Who knew that he would overreach himself? Therefore, he could only think of a way to remedy this. What does Elder Yao want to discuss? If you guys didn't make a ruckus and just wanted to talk things out, I wouldn't have to make things so clear. Len Ruoxue sighed and said helplessly. I know, we weren't calm enough. We heard your subordinates telling us to wait outside the house, so we got anxious. The elder of the Yao family said politely. Elder Yao, what did I say? What I'm saying is that there aren't enough rooms, and the space in the courtyard is limited, so please move outside the house without us arranging your food, clothing, and accommodation, right? Feng De asked. Yes. That's the right thing to say. The Yao family elder nodded with a red face. If that's the case, how can you say we're kicking you out? Of course, we have to let our own people and those who have paid the room fee come first to our current rooms and courtyards, isn't that right? Feng De asked again. That's right. That's right. The Yao family elder's forehead was covered in cold sweat. Then you still dare to wrong us? Feng De's eyes widened in anger as he glared at the Yao family's elder. None of the Yao family's people were good. They were all so annoying. It was our slip of the tongue. We were too scared. The elder of the Yao family said pitifully. You were the ones who said you didn't need our arrangements. What's the use of being afraid now? Feng De shouted with his eyes wide open. Then we want you to arrange a place for us to stay. That should be fine, right? The Yao family elder said without any backbone. He really didn't want to leave this house. It's too late. The courtyard has been arranged. Feng De said with a smirk. You can also give us a small corner. As long as we can have a place to sit. The Yao family elder was unwilling to give up and settled for the second best. Are you sure? Feng De asked in disbelief. As long as you don't let us leave this house, anywhere is fine. We're willing to pay. Seeing that there was a chance, the Yao family elder quickly said. You can represent them. Feng De turned his gaze to the others and asked. Chapter 1762, Luring the Tiger Out of the Mountain, 1. Hearing Feng De's words, the Yao family's elder quickly turned to look at the others, and the others immediately said, Elder Yao's opinion is our opinion. Everyone still had lingering fear. At this time, who dared to say that the Yao family elder didn't represent them? If someone really dared to say that, the old man from the Yao family would definitely not care about them anymore. Right now, they really needed a pillar of support. It seemed that other than the Yao family's elder who had suffered together with them, they could not find any other suitable person. In that case, I'll arrange a corner for you. You were the ones who said you weren't picky. Don't be so picky when the time comes, or you'll definitely regret it. Feng De said the ugly words first, which was also a warning in disguise. Even if it's a corner, the price is the same as staying in a room. So, you'd better consider it carefully before making a decision. At this time, Baby added. When Feng De heard its words, he couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat on his forehead. He thought to himself, this baby is really ruthless. He was clearly taking advantage of her. However, this was a good opportunity. Fortunately, he didn't say that the price would be reduced by half. Otherwise, he would have ruined the treasure. Ah! When the Yao family elder and the others heard Bao Bao's words, they were completely speechless. Why did they have to fight back and forth? They didn't get any benefits. Instead, they didn't pay any less, but they couldn't compare to others in what they paid. This was really too much. But what else could they say? If they had known earlier, they might as well have agreed to the other party's arrangement of food, accommodation, and transportation. What's with the, Baby's eyes widened in anger. Just as he was about to say, and throw you into the river to feed the fish," he was interrupted by the Yao family elder. "If the price is the same, then so be it. However, for the same price, the place we live in is not as good as others. Can you compensate us with something?" The elder of the Yao family probed. To put it bluntly, he felt that he had suffered a loss, so he wanted to get back some face. "You bastard! You don't have the right to talk about conditions, you can't stay if you want to." The baby roared angrily. He was so angry that all the fur on his body stood up and he bared his fangs and brandished his claws. He was just short of rushing forward to scratch the Yao family elder. "Stay. Well, stay." The Yao family elder wanted to cry but had no tears. Woo, this seemingly cute little fox, how could she be so fierce? Moreover, when the others heard his words, they seemed to have some resentment. In fact, who was he doing this for? Why didn't they understand him? He felt extremely aggrieved. "Then stop talking nonsense. Otherwise, you won't be able to find anything," Baby urged. The Yao family elder and the others nodded. Then, a series of procedures were carried out, such as writing an IOU, taking a blood oath, and so on. After going through all the procedures again, Fengde arranged for them to sit in a corner in the northwest corner of the yard. It was not big, only enough for them to sit cross-legged and meditate. There was no extra space. When the Yao family elder and the others saw this, their hearts were bleeding. Woo! They charged them 500,000 top-grade crystals just for this place. These people were really robbing them. No. This was much faster than robbery. However, as soon as they thought that their safety in the mystery land was guaranteed in the future, their hearts suddenly calmed down. This was probably the so-called spending money to avoid disaster. Thanks. After settling them down, Fengde and the others began to prepare dinner. An indescribable fragrance soon filled the air. Although the Yao family elder and the others were some distance away from the garden, the delicious smell of the food still drifted into their noses. Immediately, some people's stomachs reacted uncontrollably and began to growl. This wasn't to say that they were hungry. After all, their cultivation levels weren't low, so it didn't matter if they didn't eat. However, they had all cultivated from ordinary people to deities. As a result, the deliciousness of this food still caused their stomachs to have a strong reaction. Many people couldn't help but sniffle with all their might, and some people even had suspicious liquid flowing out of the corners of their mouths. "All of you better be a little more promising." Seeing them like this, the Yao family elder growled in a low voice. However, no one was willing to listen to him at this time. Even a divine venerable couldn't resist the temptation of delicious food, let alone these people who weren't divine venerables. His self-control was naturally not as good. As the fragrance grew stronger, some people couldn't stand it anymore and stood up, heading straight for the garden. After a long time, the people who had gone to the garden returned with a look of satisfaction on their faces. Seeing this, more and more people gave up their reservations and ran to the garden. In this way, a few hours passed. Everyone present, except the Yao family elder, couldn't resist the temptation of food and went to pay for it. However, it was conceivable that the food fee they paid this time would not be cheap. "Elder Yao. It's such a pity that you didn't go, AI. The taste of the food was too good. I've lived for so long, but I've never eaten such delicious food. My life has not been in vain." The person closest to Elder Yao sighed. He had thought that he was dead for sure. Unexpectedly, not only was he saved, but he was also able to eat delicious food that he had never eaten before. It was worth it. It was really worth it. Even though they had to spend a lot of money. However, he didn't have to worry about his debts. At most, he could pay them back slowly. "You guys are really rich," the Yao clan elder said sinisterly. His expression was as unsightly as the bottom of a pot, and he couldn't help but curse in his heart. These people were really too embarrassing. So what if they hadn't eaten roasted food before? In fact, when he smelled the smell, he knew that the other party was roasting food. When they were outside for experience training in the past, the most common way to deal with food was to roast it. Therefore, he did not think that there was anything surprising about roasted food. However, these disgraceful guys were actually so eager to roast food. How could this not make him angry? Elder Yao, this money was well spent. We didn't eat to fill our stomachs, but to satisfy our appetites. Now, our wish has come true. Although we spent some money, the food was indeed delicious. To be honest, I've roasted food before, but the taste can't compare with other people's food. This was the difference. If you don't believe me, you can also go and pay for it. That person advised. Words were not proof. He felt that it was best to let the Yao family's elder personally experience it. At that time, Elder Yao would understand their feelings. I don't have that much money, the Yao family elder said in a bad mood. Humph. He wouldn't fall for those people's tricks. Seeing this, the man stopped talking. However, he couldn't help but think in his heart, how could the Yao family not have money? Who would believe this? One had to know that at least half of the wealth in the divine realm was controlled by the 8 great divine regions. Now, the Yao family elder actually said that he had no money. Wasn't this making fun of him? Humph. If you can't bear it, just say it, but why did you have to say you don't have money? Who are you trying to fool? Following that, everyone closed their eyes to rest. Those who wanted to respond to the Yao family elder all tactfully shut their mouths to avoid stirring up a stomach full of idle talk. For a moment, the atmosphere was extremely serious by the Yao family elder. Chapter 1763, Luring the Tiger Out of the Mountain, 2. At this moment, Leng Ruoxue was in the living room, listening to Feng Die's report on the situation in the garden. Miss. Other than that old man from the Yao family, everyone else is buying food from us. Feng De said happily. This was another big income. Oh. The Yao family has always been like this. Leng Ruoxue said disapprovingly. Yes, yes. Feng De quickly nodded. He would make more delicious food tomorrow. He didn't believe that he couldn't get money from the Yao family elder's pocket. Feng De, I will leave this place with Uncle Long and the evildoer tomorrow. However, for your safety, I will set the rule that you can only leave and not enter this house. If anyone tries to cause trouble, you can just clean it up. The beasts in the endless ocean will help you. Leng Ruoxue told Feng De about her arrangements. Feng De frowned and said, Miss, are you going to find Master Ning and the others? Bring me along. I'm not bringing anyone but Uncle Long and the demon. Feng De, I've left you here to lower the guards of the men in black. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been easy for us to leave. With you here, the men in black will be more at ease. As long as you don't take the initiative to go out, you won't be in danger. Leng Ruoxue reminded. She had already thought of everything for Feng De and the others. All right then. Although Feng De was a little reluctant, he still nodded. Miss. Are you guys coming back tonight? Then, Feng De asked. I don't think so. Don't worry about us. I'll be at ease as long as you take care of yourselves. Leng Ruoxue said with a smile. Don't worry, miss. We'll take care of ourselves. Feng De promised. That's good. As for my departure, don't let too many people know about it. Just say that I'm in seclusion to refine pills. Leng Ruoxue said after some thought. N. Feng De nodded. After that, Leng Ruoxue instructed Feng De on some other matters before letting him leave with a peace of mind. The next day. Leng Ruoxue, the demon, and Uncle Long then turned invisible and left. After walking out of the valley for a distance, Leng Ruoxue gave each of them a disguise pill. After they ate it, the 3 of them appeared in the mystic realm with the appearance of strangers. Little girl, your disguise pill is really amazing. Even my aura has changed. A mirror appeared in Uncle Long's hand and he said in surprise. However, when he saw the ugliest face in the mirror, he felt depressed again. Although his appearance could not be compared to that of a demon, he was still considered a handsome uncle. In this situation, he probably didn't even need to do anything to scare off a group of people. Leng Ruoxue, who was at the side, saw that the usually tough Uncle Long had actually taken out a mirror to look at himself. Instantly, her forehead was filled with black lines. She didn't expect that Uncle Long was also a fan of beauty. One must know that the beasts in this world rarely prepared a mirror for themselves. At most, they would only look at themselves in the river. For Uncle Long to act like this, it really made her fall into a mirror. What's wrong? Are you surprised? Back in the day, Uncle Long was also a handsome man when he was young. I don't know how many female beasts liked me. Uncle Long's torch-like eyes seemed to reveal a trace of nostalgia. I've never doubted Uncle Long's charm. There will be many female beasts who will like Uncle Long now. Even though Leng Ruoxue was sweating profusely, she still replied in a cooperative manner. Thanks, ha ha ha. Little girl, you have good taste. However, Uncle Long's standards are extremely high, and he won't take a fancy to those ordinary beasts. Uncle Long said in a good mood. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxue could not help but sigh. A man's heart was truly like a needle at the bottom of the sea. Uncle Long, who had been frowning a moment ago, suddenly changed his expression because of her words. The speed at which he changed his expression was faster than turning the pages of a book. When he saw Leng Ruoxue looking at him helplessly, Uncle Long's smile grew wider. Then, the three of them continued on their way. At night, Leng Ruoxue immediately brought the evildoer and Uncle Long into the bracelet. In fact, she was willing to bring Uncle Long in because she had thought about it carefully. After all, she trusted her judgment of people. Moreover, Uncle Long was not a human. If a human would covet her ring, the beasts would definitely not have such thoughts. This was also the main reason why she was more friendly to the beasts. Uncle Long wasn't used to the change of location, but when he saw the strong spiritual qi in the bracelet, he was ecstatic. This was really a good place for cultivation. However, he was already a reverent god, so the strong spiritual qi here didn't seem to have much effect on him. However, to be able to live in such a place with strong spiritual qi was a very comfortable and wonderful thing for them. Turning around, Uncle Long looked at Leng Ruoxue with a face full of joy. He could not help but ask, "Little girl, where are we?" He knew that this little girl wasn't simple. Now, it seemed that his decision to follow her was really wise. This is naturally also the space of one of my divine artifacts. Leng Ruoxue deliberately kept him in suspense. I'm afraid that house can't compare to this divine artifact. Uncle Long understood. Although they were all spatial-type divine artifacts, there were also high and low-quality ones. Leng Ruoxue nodded. Hee. Little girl, Uncle Long knew that following you was the right thing to do. Oh. There are so many houses there, so Uncle Long, I'll just pick one to live in. Uncle Long was an experienced man. Since Leng Ruoxue was willing to bring him in, he knew that this little lass didn't treat him as an outsider. Hence, he didn't stand on ceremony with Leng Ruoxue. However, he wouldn't ask what he shouldn't ask. However, Leng Ruoxue's actions had warmed his cold heart. This little girl was one of the most impressive humans he had ever seen. Uncle Long. Those houses have owners and I've already ordered my spirit beasts to build a new house for you. I'll have them take you there. Leng Ruoxue said with a smile. Good. When Uncle Long heard that all the houses had owners, he was disappointed. However, when he heard that Leng Ruoxue had built a new house for him, his face lit up with joy. Following that, a small silver wolf the size of a palm ran over happily. It rubbed against Leng Ruoxue's leg affectionately and brought Uncle Long to see the room. Not long after, Uncle Long returned with a satisfied look on his face. Little girl, I really like the room. Thank you. Uncle Long said with a smile. That smile was definitely from the bottom of his heart. Uncle Long. I also helped to build the house. The little silver wolf in Uncle Long's arms said in a slightly coquettish manner. Hee hee. Uncle Long knows. Thank you, little Fong Fong. Uncle Long stroked the silver wolf's soft fur and said affectionately. He did not expect to see so many magical beasts here, including the Phoenix clan and the Dragon clan, the two king divine beast clans of the divinity. At that moment, Leng Ruoxu's status in his heart rose by quite a bit. Chapter 1764, Luring the Tiger Out of the Mountain, 3, Hee hee. The silver wolf giggled, then jumped down from Uncle Long's arms and went to play. Little girl. You really surprise me. Uncle Long sighed. He had thought that the three of them would have to sleep in the wilderness. Who would have thought that Leng Ruoxue would give him such a pleasant surprise? Oh right. Little girl, do all the beasts here belong to you? Uncle Long asked curiously. They're all my beastie. Leng Ruoxue did not deny it. After hearing Leng Ruoxue's words, Uncle Long sized her up in disbelief. His gaze made her heart tremble. Half a moment. Uncle Long widened his eyes and asked in disbelief, how did you manage to contract so many beastie? From what he knew, contracting a spiritual beast required a lot of mental energy. Hence, there was a limit to the number of spiritual beasts that a human could contract. He had lived for so long and had never seen a human like Leng Ruoxue who could contract so many spiritual beasts without limit. How terrifying was her mental energy? He simply didn't dare to imagine. I don't know, Leng Ruoxue answered honestly. Most of her spiritual beasts had delivered themselves to her doorstep, so it did not take much effort for her to keep them. However, she also knew that contracting a spiritual beast required a huge amount of mental energy. However, she did not feel that her mental energy had reached its limit, so she had more and more spiritual beasts. Ah! After hearing this, Uncle Long kept blinking his eyes, not knowing what to say. Hee hee. What's the big deal? Big sister's aptitude isn't something ordinary people can compare to. At this moment, Qing Ju's voice rang in the ears of the three of them. Then, a chubby little child appeared. All right. I admit that this little girl is a pervert, okay? But, who are you? Uncle Long asked with great interest as he looked at Qing Ju, who was acting like an adult. I'm the manager of this space, which means I'm the spirit of this divine artifact. Qing Ju said proudly. When Uncle Long heard Qing Ju's arrogant words, he carefully sized him up from head to toe. Then, he even poked Qing Ju's pink and tender little face with his finger. He sighed and said, it feels exactly the same as a real baby. What else do you think? Qing Ju's face darkened, and he was obviously a little unhappy. Sob. He was being taken advantage of by the strange uncle. Ah. I won't tell you that this is my first time seeing an artifact spirit. Uncle Long said, a little embarrassed. Hearing Uncle Long's words, Leng Ruoxue couldn't help but purse her lips and snicker. Uncle Long was actually getting more and more humorous. It doesn't matter. Your reaction is very normal. I won't laugh at you. Qing Ju said very seriously. Hee hee. That's good. Uncle Long coaxed. After that, he pretended to wipe the cold sweat off his forehead, but he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. It really wasn't easy to coax a little doll. Seeing the interaction between Uncle Long and Qing Ju, Leng Ruoxue did not disturb them. Instead, she pulled the evildoer and left quietly. Meanwhile, Uncle Long, accompanied by Qing Ju, the local tyrant, started to tour the entire space. Everywhere they went, Uncle Long was like a Granny Lu who had entered a grand view garden. He couldn't even see enough. After a round, he felt deeply inferior and felt that his choice was wise. There were so many good things in here that it was dazzling. In the end, Qing Ju even patted Uncle Long's shoulder and comforted him. Don't be sad. Your reaction is better than others. You don't have to feel inferior. Uncle Long nodded and scurried into his room. He faced the wall and pondered. The next morning, they continued their journey. After searching for a long time, they finally found a house in the evening half a month later by an unremarkable, almost dried-up stream. He observed the house from afar. From the outside, it looked no different from the one that Leng Ruoxue owned. From the refinement technique, Leng Ruoxue could also tell that it was refined by the Grand Elder. However, the area of the house in front of her didn't look very big, and the height of the house was only about 1 meter. However, Leng Ruoxue knew that this was just a smokescreen. The Grand Elder's actions were probably afraid of attracting the attention of the black-robed men in the mystic realm, which was why he kept such a low profile. But even so, the house was still surrounded by fierce monsters. Fortunately, these monsters did not have much intelligence. They were more like battle machines. Hence, the first elder and the rest were able to hide here safely without being discovered by the men in black. However, the moment she thought of the hidden spy beside them, Leng Ruoxue's heart began to race again. "Little girl, this house is similar to yours. The person we're looking for should be here," Uncle Long said with uncertainty. "Thanks, N." Leng Ruoxue nodded. Even though she wasn't too sure, she knew that the Grand Elder had elemental breath. Hence, it wouldn't be difficult for him to create a spatial god tool that could accommodate people. "Then let's go in and find her," Uncle Long urged. He was extremely annoyed when he saw these monsters. He couldn't help but think of the black-clothed men who had been sucked dry. Therefore, he couldn't wait to leave this place. "Uncle Long. Evildoer, you guys go and contact the people in the house. I'll go and lure those monsters away," Leng Ruoxue said after some thought. "No. It's too dangerous. I'll go and draw the monsters away," Uncle Long retorted. In her opinion, Leng Ruoxue was the weakest among the three of them. Furthermore, she was a girl. How could he, a reverent god, allow a little girl to do such a thing? If word of this got out, he would be looked down upon by many beastie. More importantly, he could not bear for Leng Ruoxue to take this risk. After all, he truly treated Leng Ruoxue as a junior of his family. Hence, he would not let Leng Ruoxue go. "Uncle Long. Only my flames can cause damage to these monsters. Moreover, I still have room to save my life. Therefore, no one is more suitable than me for this task. So, you can rest assured. I know what I'm doing," Leng Ruoxue promised. Her words left Uncle Long speechless because what Leng Ruoxue said was the truth. In terms of life-saving methods, he was indeed no match for her. "Shua-er. Be careful," the demon warned. Although he didn't want Shua-er to take the risk, he knew that Leng Ruoxue was a woman of her word. He couldn't stop her. "Don't worry. I won't risk my life." After Leng Ruoxue finished speaking, she used her divine power to create a fiery red dragon. Then, she jumped onto the dragon's back and flew towards the direction where the monsters were gathering. The monsters that had gathered outside the house had discovered a new target and immediately left to chase after Leng Ruoxue. How can you also let the little girl do such a thing? As he watched Leng Ruoxue's back view, Uncle Long was a little annoyed. He had thought that this devilish man who cared a lot about this little girl would stop him. Who knew that he only told her to be careful? Once Shua has decided on something, she won't easily change her mind. The demon said, but in his heart, he was thinking, if it wasn't for the fact that the Great Elder and the others didn't recognize you, I wouldn't have to be here accompanying you. But we can still approach the house invisibly. Uncle Long couldn't help but ask. It's a critical time right now. If we go in stealth, the people in the house won't believe us. If we don't, we'll alert a large number of monsters. When we want to enter the house, I'm afraid the people inside won't dare to open the door for us. So, luring the tiger away from the mountain is the best way," the demon said. No one dared to take the risk at this moment. "All right. You're right." Uncle Long was a little dejected, but he still followed behind the evildoer and slowly approached the house. As he got closer to the house, the demon knocked on the door gently. However, there was no movement from inside. Seeing this, the demon continued to knock. However, because of his knocking, the people in the house were like birds startled by the twang of a bow, their faces pale. At this moment, apart from a few of them who were recuperating in their rooms due to their severe injuries, the rest of them were all hiding in the garden, not daring to pay attention to the movements outside. Go and see who is knocking on the door. At this time, the master of the Een family, whose face was a little pale, ordered. However, no one carried out his words. I can't order you around anymore, can I? Looking at the motionless crowd, the master of the Een family exploded in anger and roared again. Master Een, there's no need to look anymore. Those monsters must be trying to trick us out, so they're deliberately making some noise. An elder of the Cheng family said in fear. Fuck. Your monster would knock on the door so politely. The master of the Een family was so angry that he really wanted to throw this embarrassing elder of the Cheng family out. Unfortunately, this guy wasn't a member of the Een family. Otherwise, he would definitely teach him a good lesson. This must be a new trick that the monsters came up with to trick us out. The elder from the Cheng clan said stubbornly. Fucking disappear from my sight right now, or I don't mind teaching you a lesson on behalf of Old Man Cheng. After hearing the Cheng clan's elder's words, the Een clan's master couldn't take it anymore and roared. After he finished speaking, he walked toward the door in a huff. Humph. If these timid guys couldn't be ordered, then he would go personally. When the others saw this, they quietly followed behind him. At the door, Master Een frowned and shouted, Who is it? You dare to knock on the door. Chapter 1765, Violent Uncle Dragon, 1. When the demon heard this voice, he was stunned for a moment. Then, he said loudly, Old Man Een, quickly open the door. Who are you? When the master of the Een family saw that the other party recognized him, he suddenly became alarmed. However, out of caution, he naturally would not open the door casually. Otherwise, the monsters that had been guarding outside would rush in without hesitation. At that time, their lives would be in danger. However, this name was really familiar. My surname is Yi. Have you forgotten? The demon laughed coldly. He was still resentful of what the master of the Een family had done in the past. Knight? The master of the Een family frowned and thought. Suddenly, he had a flash of inspiration and remembered who this guy was. Fuck. Isn't that the robber surnamed Yi? What was he doing here? Since you remember, quickly open the door. The demon said impatiently. Oh. The master of the Een family nodded in embarrassment. He couldn't afford to offend this guy. However, just as the master of the Een family was about to open the door, he was stopped by the person behind him. Master Een. You can't open the door. The elder of the Cheng family said. Why can't I? I know him. The master of the Een family said unhappily. He was trapped here. Was he being too easy to talk to? Otherwise, why did none of them take him seriously? In fact, he had overthought it. He still had a supreme position in these people's hearts. However, these people were too concerned about their lives. Therefore, as long as there was a slight movement, they would be extremely nervous. Moreover, at this time, they could not care about the strong being respected. They were about to lose their lives, so what was the use of pursuing the strong? Moreover, the patriarchs of the 8 great divine regions, who were usually high and mighty, had no way to deal with this matter. As a result, the words of the patriarchs were not as intimidating as they usually were. Master Een, even if you know him, you can't risk the lives of so many people. There are so many monsters out there. If you open the door and let him in, what if those monsters come in as well? What should we do then? The elder from the Cheng family said worriedly. The others quickly chimed in after hearing his words. Yup. Master Een. You have to consider all of us. This is the only place we can settle down in the secret plane. We can't let those monsters occupy it, otherwise, we'll really be dead. Another person worriedly said. Fuck. Open the door, we're here to save you. Before the master of the Een family could say anything, Uncle Long, who was standing outside the door, couldn't help but roar. These people really didn't know what was good for them. The little girl risked her life to save them, but they didn't know how to be grateful. They even wanted to shut them out for their own lives. This was outrageous. If it wasn't for the little girl's life-saving means and her ability to deal with these monsters, the three of them would have long become the stomachs of these monsters. The more Uncle Long thought about it, the angrier he got. If they weren't separated by a door, he would have cut those guys who had just spoken into pieces. He saved us. You obviously came to us because you saw that we had a way to save our lives, but you still have the cheek to say that you're here to save us. Your skin is really thick. That person continued. You, who the fuck are you? If you have the guts, report your name. Hearing this, Uncle Long was instantly enraged. Now, he truly felt that it was not worth it for the little girl to come and save them. What do you want to do? Sensing the hostility in the other party's tone, the person said with a trembling voice. You shut up. At this time, the master of the Een family couldn't take it anymore and shouted. The man didn't fear Uncle Long, but he couldn't ignore the master of the Een family. Therefore, he kept his mouth shut. Thanks, old man Een, open the door quickly. Otherwise, you can just live and die here. After listening to the lively atmosphere, the evildoer said with a smile that was not a smile. These people had already exhausted his patience. At the same time, he was worried about Leng Ruox's safety. Hence, he did not want to waste any more time with them. If they still did not open the door, he would have to leave with Uncle Long. Oh. Wait a moment. This time, the master of the Een family moved very quickly. He didn't give the others a chance to react before he opened the door. Seeing this, Uncle Long entered in a flash, while the demon turned and left. Why did he leave? Master Een asked in confusion as he watched the back of the evildoer and closed the door. He was worried about the little girl's safety, so he went to look for her. Uncle Long said honestly. Although the kid didn't tell him, he knew. That. You guys, Master Een stuttered. Actually, he wanted to ask, who are you guys? And how did that Yi brat become ugly? If he didn't know that no one here would pretend to be Yi, and no one knew how they got along, he would have suspected that this guy was a fake. You can call me Uncle Long. I'm the little girl's man. Uncle Long could tell that the master of the Een family was in a dilemma. However, the master of the Een family was a little unhappy when he called him Uncle Long. This guy actually wanted her to call him Uncle Long. This was clearly taking advantage of her. This was really too much. However, who was the little girl he was talking about? Excuse me, who is the little girl you're talking about? After thinking for a while, Master Een asked the question in his heart. The little girl is Leng Ruoxue. The Ning family head and the others all know him. Uncle Long said lightly. Ah. The master of the Een family lowered his head. Could he say that he also knew that little devil? However, when he heard from the other party that it was Leng Ruoxue, his heart was completely at ease. Where did that little girl go? The master of the Een family asked. She went to draw the monsters away. Otherwise, she would attract the monster's attention if she got close to the house. Uncle Long said matter-of-factly, but the worry in his eyes disappeared. After all, he treated Leng Ruoxue as his junior. No matter how capable his own child was, she was still a child in his eyes. No wonder. The master of the Een family sighed. He didn't know what to say. Even a little girl dared to do this, but they, the men, could only hide here. This fact made him feel quite aggrieved. Uncle Long glanced at the master of the Een family and turned to the others. Who was the one who told us not to come in? And you said that we would bring you danger? When Uncle Long said this, his eyes were very unfriendly and his expression was very ugly. Not only that, but he also deliberately released a trace of pressure. Instantly, those who had been frightened like birds felt endless pressure. At this time, if they still didn't know that Uncle Long's strength was more than a little bit higher than theirs, they would have lived all these years in vain. Chapter 1766, Violent Uncle Dragon, 2. In an instant, fear, regret, and countless other emotions flashed through everyone's hearts. Moreover, they knew that this was the time when they needed top-class experts the most, so they did not dare to take Uncle Long's words lightly. It was an elder of the Cheng and Yao families who told me. After weighing the pros and cons, some people quickly betrayed the two people who had spoken just now, while more people were extremely glad that they hadn't said anything that they shouldn't have. Otherwise, this Uncle Long would definitely not let them off. Thinking of this, everyone quietly distanced themselves from the two elders of the Cheng and Yao families. And Uncle Long didn't let down his heavy gaze. He grabbed the two elders of the Cheng and Yao families, who were standing upright like cranes among chickens, and walked toward a corner. Not long after, a pig-like howl came from the corner. Arg! Ah! Murder! Help me! Arg! Don't hit me! I was wrong. I was wrong. Everyone looked up at the sky in unison when they heard the scream. This was not the time for them to make a sound, but Uncle Long's violent image had been deeply engraved in their hearts. Immediately, everyone decided that they could not afford to offend Uncle Long. After a long time, when the Yao and Ching families' two elders crawled out from the corner, everyone couldn't help but widen their eyes in shock, looking at the two people in front of them in disbelief. Fuck! Were these two really the two elders from before? Although these two elders were not extraordinarily handsome, they were at least decent looking. But now, they were clearly pigs waiting to be slaughtered. Moreover, they were quite fat. Not only were they covered in wounds, but their bodies were also round and fat. They were 2 times fatter. Seeing the two's new appearance, everyone looked at Uncle Long with a complicated expression. The reality in front of them made them speechless and flabbergasted. Uncle Long found a seat and sat down. He took out a small table from his storage ring and placed it in front of him. Then, he placed a teacup and a teapot on the table and began to slowly enjoy the tea. As he sipped the tea in his hand, he observed their reactions. When everyone saw how relaxed and comfortable he was, they all felt a mix of emotions, jealousy, envy, and hatred. Look at him, he was also in the mystic realm, but he was living a good life. On the other hand, even though they were trapped here, they were still very afraid and didn't dare to let their guard down. Sob. It was infuriating to compare. Master Ian, this tea was prepared by my little girl. Do you want to try it? After a long while, Uncle Long spoke. All right. The master of the Ian family couldn't ask for more. His biggest hobby was drinking tea, and now that he smelled the tea, he was already tempted. However, he wasn't close to Uncle Long, so he didn't ask for it. He walked to Uncle Long's side and sat down. Uncle Long took out a jade teacup from his storage ring and poured a cup of tea for the Ian family's master. After that, he didn't say anything else. The Ian family's master, who had the tea to drink, ignored the looks everyone gave him and silently drank it. After an unknown amount of time, Uncle Long's tea was almost finished. Then, he took out a steaming, oily roast chicken from his ring and generously gave half of it to the Ian family's master. When everyone smelled the aroma of the roast chicken, they unconsciously swallowed their saliva. However, no one dared to approach him. What a fragrant roast chicken. Can you share some with me? At this time, a slightly low voice rang in everyone's ears. When everyone heard this voice, they all consciously made way for him. Thanks, old man Ning. Why did you come out? Quickly go back to your room. The master of the Ian family immediately said in dissatisfaction after seeing the owner of the voice. I came out because of the fragrance. Why? Do you want to take all the food for yourself? The master of the Ning family said with some dissatisfaction. You ungrateful brat, am doing this for your own good. The master of the Een family was a little angry. I want to eat roast chicken. It tastes just like the one my precious daughter makes. The master of the Ning family, who had been attracted by the fragrance, walked to Uncle Long and said with a drooling face. He had been in the room and hadn't paid attention to the situation outside, so he didn't know what had just happened. You're the master of the Ning family? You're injured. Uncle Long's eyes were like torches as he said this. As he spoke, he handed over the roast chicken in his hand. The master of the Ning family unceremoniously took the fragrant chicken and took a big bite. Then, he frowned and said, I was slightly injured. It's not just similar, the taste is exactly the same. He was a little confused. Was there something wrong with his taste? Otherwise, how could he smell the food that Schwer made? This was really abnormal. Because this was all caused by Schwer. Uncle Long said with a smile. He had heard a lot about the master of the Ning family and knew that he was a protective guy. He had a good impression of the master of the Ning family today, and he even missed the little girl here. It could be seen that he really loved the little girl, and the little girl had risked her life to save him in vain. What? The master of the Ning family was shocked, and his already pale face became paler. Old thing, you can't be excited. Quickly calm down. Sensing Master Ning's excitement, Master Een said worriedly. I'm fine. Don't be so nervous. The master of the Ning family didn't want to be treated like a patient, so when he heard MasterEen's words, he immediately exploded. Although the other party had good intentions, he couldn't appreciate it. You ungrateful old man. I'm not going to care about you anymore, alright? The Een family's master's temper also rose. I didn't ask you to care about it. The master of the Ning family couldn't help but mumble. Then, he grabbed Uncle Long's arm tightly and asked nervously, what did you just say? Who made this chicken? He was afraid that he had heard wrong. This chicken was made by Leng Ruoxue. Uncle Long laughed evilly. He didn't expect that the master of the Ning family would find out about it with just a chicken. Are you sure? Master Ning was still in disbelief. I'm sure. This chicken was personally prepared by Schwer, and I heard that she's your goddaughter, right? Uncle Long asked despite knowing the answer. MMH. That's right. She's my goddaughter. But why don't I know you? Also, where's Schwer? The Ning family's master asked a few questions in a row, making Uncle Long not know whether to laugh or cry. He didn't expect that the moment Leng Ruoxue was mentioned, this fellow would become so nervous. There were so many questions, which one should he answer first? That little girl is now in this secret realm, and we met in the Endless Sea. Uncle Long thought for a while and decided to pick the most important part so that he wouldn't make this guy anxious to death. Chapter 1767, Violent Uncle Dragon, 3, Little Schwer has also come to the secret realm? Damn it! Who asked her to come? Hearing Uncle Long's words, the master of the Ning family suddenly became anxious. Like an ant in a hot pot, he kept walking around and drawing circles on the ground. She came here to save you. Besides, she's much safer than you in this secret realm. Uncle Long couldn't help but say. Although he knew that his words might strike a blow to these experts of the divine realm. Sure enough, as soon as he finished speaking, some people became dissatisfied. Senior, aren't your words biased? Although we are trapped in this secret realm, the weakest among us is a divine emperor. I wonder what is the cultivation level of the little girl you speak of? The person who spoke was also an elder of the Yao family. Moreover, his face carried a trace of dissatisfaction. So what if he's a divine emperor? You guys don't even dare to leave this house, do you? However, in order to find you, the three of us almost turned this secret realm upside down. If it were you, would you dare to do the same? Uncle Long sneered. That's because she has a senior protecting her. The Yao family elder said stubbornly. You're wrong. I'm not the one protecting her, she's the one who's been protecting me. Uncle Long told the truth, but that was all he had to say. As for the little girl's methods and the damage she could cause to the monsters here, he didn't intend to say it in public. After all, they didn't know who the enemy's hidden chess piece was. They couldn't let their guard down as long as they didn't find the person. How is this possible? The Yao family elder obviously didn't believe him. It's up to you to believe it or not, Uncle Long said coldly. After that, he no longer paid any attention to the Yao family. However, in his heart, the Yao family had become a synonym for disgust and had been blacklisted by him. At this time, the master of the Ning family took the initiative to pull Uncle Long into his room. May I know how to address you? The master of the Ning family asked very politely after closing the door. The little girl calls me Uncle Long, Uncle Long said after thinking for a while. Oh. Brother Long, can you tell me more about Shuer? The master of the Ning family said humbly. He completely believed Uncle Long's words, but he still had to confirm it. Sure. Uncle Long nodded, then told him everything about how they met and what they had experienced in the secret realm. After hearing it, the master of the Ning family was silent for a long time. I was too arrogant and caused trouble for Shuer. After a long while, the master of the Ning family sighed. Don't be arrogant, and don't cause any trouble. That's all in the past, so there's no point in talking about it. You'd better think about how to explain your injury to the little girl. If I'm not wrong, your injuries are not light. Uncle Long reminded her kindly. Even though he had not spent much time with Len Ruoxue, he knew very well that this little girl was very protective of her own people. If she knew that her godfather had been seriously injured, she would probably fly into a rage. After hearing Uncle Long's words, the master of the Ning family sighed helplessly. How could he not have thought of what Uncle Long had thought of? He didn't dare to see Shuer anymore. He could hide. It's useless to be a coward. You can't hide forever. Seeing through Master Ning's thoughts, Uncle Long said speechlessly, why is the master of the Ning family so afraid of a little girl? Brother Long, you don't understand. When that girl is angry, she's really terrifying. The master of the Ning family said fearfully. Then you're on your own, Uncle Long said with a hint of sympathy. Brother Long. You can't just leave me in the lurch. The master of the Ning family begged with a bitter face. Master Ning, I'm just living under someone else's roof. My words don't hold any weight in this little girl's heart. So, don't make things difficult for me. Uncle Long replied with a bitter face. Brother Long, the master of the Ning family continued to call. Master Ning, I really can't do anything. You'd better think about how to explain it to the little girl. I think she should be here soon. Uncle Long reminded him with a look of sympathy. After saying that, Uncle Long slipped away. Looking at Uncle Long's back, the master of the Ning family sat down on the chair, frowning. Old man Ning, I heard that Shuer is here. Where is she? At this time, the head elder of the Craftsmen's Guild headquarters pushed the door open and entered. He had originally been recuperating in his room, but after hearing the news, he had hurried over. Thanks, he's not here yet. However, it'll be soon. The master of the Ning family said weakly. What's the meaning of this? The great elder's face was filled with question marks. Shuer came into the secret realm to save us. However, she saw that we were surrounded by monsters, so she went to draw them away. The person who came in was with her. The master of the Ning family explained, and the great elder became anxious when he heard this. What? Did Shuer go to draw away those monsters? How could this be? No. I have to go out and save her. The great elder quickly said. After he finished speaking, he turned around and walked out. Wait. Don't drag that little girl Shuer down. She can handle those monsters. Seeing this, the master of the Ning family quickly called out to the great elder. What did you just say? The first elder couldn't help but widen his eyes at Master Ning's words. Did he hear it wrong? Could Shuai deal with those monsters? I was saying that Shuai could deal with those monsters. Do you still remember her flames? The master of the Ning family reminded. There's too much. The great elder nodded his head. Not to mention having an impression, Shuai's flames had left such a deep impression on him that he could not forget them even if he wanted to. Those flames are the monster's nemesis. So, we have hope of leaving this place. The master of the Ning family said faintly. This is great. First elder was very happy. This was simply not a place for humans to stay. Don't be happy too early. Now that both of us are injured, if Shuai finds out, we'll be in trouble. The master of the Ning family saw that the great elder was overjoyed, so he could only remind him of the matter that the two of them were about to face. Well, you're Shuai's godfather. It's only natural for her to be angry because you're injured, but, the great elder stammered, but he could not finish his sentence. In fact, what he wanted to say was, you're her godfather, and am not anyone to her. I've wanted to acknowledge her as my god-granddaughter. So, am not related to her at all. Even if she wants to get angry, she can't do it to me. However, he couldn't say it out loud, because he knew very well that Shuai treated him the same way she treated old man Ning. The reason she didn't acknowledge him as her god-grandfather was because of old man Ning's face. It seemed like he couldn't escape Shuai's anger. But my ass. Don't think that you can escape just because Shuai didn't acknowledge you as her god-grandfather. Let me tell you, there's no way you can escape. You have to suffer with me. The master of the Ning family and the great elder had known each other for many years, so how could he not know what the great elder was thinking? However, if the old man thought that he could avoid Shuai's anger by doing this, then he was wrong. Then what should we do? Hearing this, first elder was like a frosted eggplant, wilting. I don't know, the master of the Ning family was also listless. Why don't we go and look for Shin Nuo? Let's see if he has any pills that can help us disguise ourselves. After a long time, first elder came up with an idea. Will this work? What if we're exposed? The master of the Ning family was a little hesitant. If Shuai found out that they had faked their injuries to hide them, she would probably be even angrier. Then you can just tell me the truth. The first elder said with slight disdain. This old thing didn't dare to speak the truth and was afraid of being exposed. How could everything go as he wished? No. I can't say. The master of the Ning family shook his head, and then said pitifully, let's go and look for Shin Nuo. He might have a way. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. The first elder urged, and after he finished speaking, the two of them headed straight for Shin Nuo's room. At this moment, Shin Nuo, who was in the room, was fiddling with the medicinal herbs in her hands. When she saw the two of them, she stood up with a disapproving look on her face. You guys ran around again. Didn't I say that you have to stay in your rooms to recuperate? As an alchemist, he hated disobedient patients the most. We have something to discuss with you. The master of the Ning family said, slightly embarrassed. After that, he quickly explained the reason for their visit to Shin Nuo. After Shin Nuo heard it, she frowned, but she still took out 2 pale yellow pills from her storage ring and passed them to them. It's impossible to completely hide your injuries, but these 2 pills can make you look better. Shin Nuo explained. It seems like this is the only way. Although Master Ning was a little disappointed, it was better to look better than to be pale. After taking the pills, Master Ning and the Grand Elder specially went to remind the others not to tell Leng Ruoxue about their injuries. After making all the necessary arrangements, they waited for Leng Ruoxue and the demon to come knocking on their door. At this moment, Leng Ruoxue had already lured those monsters to a place 10,000 miles away. However, she did not kill those monsters to avoid attracting the attention of the men in black in the secret realm. After she turned invisible and returned, she met the demon who came to her rescue halfway. The two of them met up and returned to the house together. At this time, the sky was already bright. Chapter 1768, Looking for Trouble. 1. Walking to the front of the house, the evildoer started knocking on the door again. This time, the people inside the house heard the knocking and quickly ran over. After all, they were already mentally prepared that there would be more people coming. Furthermore, Uncle Long was still watching them from the side. They didn't dare to take their time. Who is it? The voice in the room asked in a trembling voice. My surname is Leng. When Leng Ruoxue heard his trembling voice, she actually felt like laughing. However, when she recalled what the evildoer had said to her, she put on a straight face again. Because the evildoer had already complained to her. Hurry up and open the door, stop talking so much nonsense. At this moment, Uncle Long's loud and clear voice came from the house again. Yes, yes. The person in the house hurriedly said in fear. Then, he opened the door a crack and stuck his head out from inside, urging, quickly come in. Don't let the monster find out. Leng Ruoxue and the evildoer exchanged glances and walked into the house. Little girl, did you run into any trouble? When Uncle Long saw Leng Ruoxue, he sized her up and asked with concern. No, I didn't. Leng Ruoxue said softly. Then, she turned her beautiful eyes to the person who had opened the door for her and asked curiously, whose family are you from? Wasn't this person a little too timid? She was a divine emperor after all, yet she was actually so afraid. It was really embarrassing. Leng Ruoxue could not help but lament in her heart. Ha ha ha. Little girl, he's an elder of the Wen family. Hearing Leng Ruoxue's words, Uncle Long laughed out loud. I see. Leng Ruoxue nodded and stopped staring at the trembling elder of the Wen family so as not to scare him into fainting. However, if such a timid fellow were to become an elder, the Wen family would not have much development. Uncle Long. Have you seen Godfather and the Great Elder? Leng Ruoxue looked at Uncle Long and asked. I've seen him. Uncle Long wanted to say something, but in the end, he didn't expose the two guys who were lying. Forget it, had just pretend that he didn't know about it. No one told him anyway. Where are they? Are you all right? Leng Ruoxue asked worriedly. Sure, we're here. At this moment, Master Ning and First Elder, who had already come out of the room, had also arrived at the door. When they saw Leng Ruoxue, they spoke excitedly. Godfather, Great Elder. When Leng Ruoxue saw the two of them, she was very happy. Furthermore, they looked to be in good shape, so her heart that had been hanging in the air was finally at ease. Sure, we willfully came to this mystic realm and now we have to trouble you to save us. We are really sorry. The First Elder said in embarrassment. Great Elder, what's the point of saying all this now? Besides, as long as you're safe and sound, it doesn't matter if I'm in trouble. Leng Ruoxue said helplessly. Hee hee. Shuai was right, old man. Since you're already here, why are you so conflicted? Let's just treat this as a vacation. The master of the Ning family was very open-minded, but as soon as he finished speaking, he received a sharp glare from the First Elder. Thanks. In fact, there was a reason why the Great Elder said that. After all, it was better to lower his stance and be polite now than to let this little girl take revenge after he was exposed, right? Moreover, with his understanding of this girl, he was very clear that if the things that he and Old Man Ning had hidden were exposed, this little girl would definitely not let them off easily. So, acting pitiful was the right way now. Who knew that old thing would actually? However, he had already said it, and he couldn't take it back even if he wanted to. Therefore, he could only keep staring at the master of the Ning family and use his eyes to signal him not to talk nonsense. The master of the Ning family also understood the meaning of the Great Elder and could only shut his mouth in embarrassment. Leng Ruoxue felt suspicious when she saw Godfather and Great Elder's flirtatious interaction with their brows furrowed. Her instincts told her that these two villains were hiding something from her. However, since they were not willing to tell her, she would not force them. She would just have to see how long they could keep up the act. At the thought of this, Len Ruoshua smiled faintly and said, "Godfather and Great Elder must not have had a good rest during this period of time, right? You guys should go back to your rooms and rest. I'm just taking a walk around here, let this elder of the Wen family be my guide." Len Ruoshua pointed at the Wen family elder. When she heard this, her heart skipped a beat and a bad feeling rose in her heart. What were they going to do? Don't tell me you want to silence me. His thoughts started to run wild. Shwa, we're not tired. The Ning family head and the great elder said helplessly. Why did this little girl chase them away when they had just met? This fact made them quite depressed. How can I not be tired? You've been in the mystic realm for so long, living in fear every day. The pressure is huge. So, quickly go back and rest. Len Ruoshua urged. Len Ruoshua chased the Ning family's master and the first elder back to their room. Then, she asked the unlucky Wen family elder to lead the way. As the elder walked, he said with a long face, "Uncle Long. I'm also always in fear, so tired." In other words, he also wanted to go back to his room to rest. Why are you telling me? Whatever our little girl says. Uncle Long said as if it was none of his business. Ah. Miss Lang, can I go back to my room to rest? After the elder of the Wen family heard what Uncle Long had to say, he looked at Len Ruoshua and asked unwillingly. He did not expect that a reverent god could not even make such a small decision. He even asked him to ask a god. If this were to spread, how embarrassing would it be? What do you think? Len Ruoshua asked with a smile. Miss Lang, this house is not big, I don't think you need me to lead the way. The elder of the Wen family stole a glance at Uncle Long. Seeing that he was still calm and did not seem to be angry, he gathered his courage and said, "Then what's the point of you staying here? This young lady doesn't support idle people." Len Ruoshua said coldly. Ah. The elder of the Wen family was stunned. What did this wretched girl mean? What did he mean by what value did he have here? What do you mean by idle? Fuck. After all, he was a divine emperor. How could it be of no value? Furthermore, he was not idle, because they had not eaten for many days. What do you mean by that? The elder of the Wen family asked shamelessly after he had recovered from his shock. His eyes were burning with a raging flame, and the flame flickered with the light of anger. If you're of no value, I'll throw you out and feed you to those monsters, so that we don't waste air. Len Ruoshua laughed evilly. What did you just say? I dare you to say that again. The elder of the Wen family thought he had heard wrong and could not help but ask again. AI. It seems that you are really useless. You can't even understand what I'm saying. Uncle Long said sympathetically. Then, he continued, my little girl said that if you don't have any value, she should throw you out of the house so that you don't occupy the latrine pit and become a dog in the manger. You should understand now. Chapter 1769, Looking for Trouble, 2, You dare. I'm an elder of the Wen family. This time, the Wen family elder who had heard everything clearly, was so angry that his face turned red and his neck became thick. He raised his voice and roared. What's wrong with the Wen family's elders? Is it that amazing? Len Ruoshua scoffed. You dare to look down on the Wen family? The Wen family elder's voice grew even louder, as if he was afraid that no one could hear him. His words also successfully attracted the crowd's attention. What happened? At this time, a slightly aged voice interrupted. Then, an old man walked up to them. The old man's hair was white, but he had a ruddy complexion. However, he didn't seem to be in good spirits. Second elder. This damned, ugly woman actually looks down on the Wen family. We can't let her off. The elder of the Wen family said hurriedly when he saw that help had arrived. I'm right to say that you're useless. You didn't even do anything and you're already complaining. Leng Ruoxue chuckled. Young lady, although I don't know what kind of grudge you have with Elder Xiong, but the divine world has always respected the strong. Elder Xiong is a divine emperor, you should respect him. After hearing Leng Ruoxue's words, the Wen family's second elder frowned. Even though this was a critical period and he didn't want to cause any trouble, the Wen family's reputation could not be trampled on. What's wrong with the divine emperor? Everyone here is at least a divine emperor, but aren't you all still trapped here like birds in a cage? Leng Ruoxue said disapprovingly. That's because, the second elder of the Wen family was about to explain himself when he was rudely interrupted by Leng Ruoxue. Because those monsters can't be killed, right? Leng Ruoxue said with a half-smile. That's right. We've thought of all kinds of ways, but we can't kill those monsters. The second elder of the Wen family said. So you're saying that you're all useless? Leng Ruoxue said indifferently. What do you mean by that? The Wen family's second elder questioned angrily. Second elder, these are the words she said to me before. At this moment, Elder Xiong added fuel to the fire. I just said it, and it was the literal meaning. Leng Ruoxue smiled calmly. You're saying we're useless? The Wen family's second elder narrowed his eyes as a trace of anger flashed across his eyes. Isn't this already proven? Leng Ruoxue said lightly. What a bold little girl. I'll prove to you how powerful I am now. The Wen family's second elder was infuriated as he spoke fiercely. After he finished speaking, he pounced towards Leng Ruoxue like a tiger pouncing on its prey. However, before he could get close to Leng Ruoxue, he was stopped by Uncle Long. Thanks, old man. What's there to prove to a little girl? Why don't you prove it to me? Uncle Long laughed evilly as he grabbed the second elder's arm. You're a reverent god. The Wen family's second elder was exasperated, this was clearly bullying. You're still a divine emperor. You can even fight against a god, so why can't I let you prove your strength to me? This doesn't make sense, does it? Uncle Long said with a smile. It was rare to have so many sandbags. If he didn't practice now, when would he do it? What's more, what kind of strength can you prove to a god? Even if you win, you'll be tainted by others. Therefore, proving it to me is your best choice. If you can win against me, you'll also make others look at you in a higher light, don't you think so? Uncle Long advised earnestly. With that, Uncle Long dragged the second elder of the Wen family away like he was carrying a little chicken. Naturally, they went to a corner. Uncle Long, why didn't you beat him up in front of us? Watching Uncle Long's back view, Leng Ruoxue was a little confused. Maybe Uncle Long is shy. The demon guessed. The conversation between the two of them made the rest of the people present feel embarrassed. Would Uncle Long be shy? How could they not believe it? However, Uncle Long had even beaten up the second elder of the Wen family. This made them even more certain that they should not offend Uncle Long. No, that's not right. He couldn't offend any of these people. Just as they were thinking about this, the evildoer pulled the Wen family's elder Xiong in front of him and said with a smirk, since your helper has been taken by Uncle Long, then let me have a good time. After he finished speaking, he attacked Wen family's elder Xiong in front of everyone. For a moment, the entire courtyard was silent. Other than the crisp sound of slaps, the sound of fists hitting flesh, and the rising and falling screams, everyone didn't even dare to breathe. At this time, Elder Xiong in front of them had long been beaten silly. Instantly, everyone's backs broke out in cold sweat. That was a divine emperor. He was actually beaten up by a god king to the point where he couldn't even fight back. No. To be more precise, he had been beaten silly from the beginning and had no ability to resist at all. At this moment, the violent image of the evildoer had also been deeply imprinted in their hearts. Throwing the Wen family's elder Xiong onto the ground, his devilish black eyes looked around at everyone's faces before he slowly opened his mouth and said, "Who was the one who told us not to come in?" He was planning to settle the score after this. Upon hearing this, the crowd quickly dispersed, exposing the two elders from the Cheng and Yao families who had said those words. Seeing this, the two elders were so angry that they almost vomited blood. This group of disloyal guys, this was blatant betrayal. However, what made them feel even more regretful was why they were so curious. If they hadn't come to watch the show, wouldn't they have been able to avoid this calamity? Could it be that this violent fellow would come to their room to beat people up? In fact, that was very possible. Looking at the two lonely people standing in the middle of the yard, the demon's lips curled into a smile. Then, he comforted them, "Don't be afraid. Let's have a spar." "That. Can we not spar?" the two of them asked in unison, their faces pale with fear. They didn't want to spar with this violent guy. The way this man had beaten up Elder Xiong had been deeply etched in their hearts, so they were a little afraid. "Of course not. Don't be afraid. There are two of you, and you're stronger than me. So, you should be confident in yourself. I'm the one you should be afraid of." The demon kindly comforted. No way. They had an instinctive fear of the evildoer. Therefore, they could not be confident in themselves as the evildoer had said. Besides, ever since they were ruthlessly taught a lesson by Uncle Long, their confidence had not recovered yet. In addition, they had just witnessed the violence of the evildoer. He was not much weaker than Uncle Long. A living example was in front of them, and they could not be tough at all. Seeing that the two of them were silent and only looked at him in fear, the demon lost his patience and shot forward like an arrow. He released 2 strands of black divine power that were thinner than a strand of hair and quietly wrapped them around Elder Yao and Elder Cheng's bodies. After they were tightly bound, he began another round of killing the chicken to warn the monkeys. Chapter 1770, Looking for Trouble, 3, After a long time. Uncle Long walked out from the corner and saw the 3 chubby guys lying on the ground. He patted the evildoer's shoulder in praise and praised, "Little brat Yi, not bad. It seems like we have a telepathic connection when it comes to beating people up. Thank you for your praise, Uncle Long." The demon laughed. Then, he asked curiously, "Where's the second elder of the Wen family? I haven't beaten him up yet." "He's in the corner. However, he's unconscious now, so you can beat him up when he wakes up," Uncle Long suggested. "All right." The demon nodded. "A demon. A demon." The conversation between Uncle Long and the evildoer was the only word that everyone could think of. However, they were also very glad that they were not the ones who offended these devils. In fact, they had no idea that Leng Ruoxue and the other two were just trying to make an example out of them. Hence, as long as they did not walk right into the muzzle of their guns, nothing would happen. However, the seeds of fear had already been planted in their hearts. After the 3 of them made an example of each other, they acted as if nothing had happened and found a place to sit down. However, not long after they sat down, someone came to question them with a dark face. "Are you the ones who injured our Wen family members?" The Wen family's head stood in front of Leng Ruoxue and the other two, scowling and scowling. "So what if I am?" Leng Ruoxue raised her head and looked at the man in front of her with her beautiful eyes as she spoke in a disapproving tone. After she finished speaking, she sized up the Wen family head again. Although she had long heard of this old man's name, this was the first time she had seen him. The Wen family head looked to be in his early 30s. He was very handsome and had a noble aura. Unfortunately, the greed that flashed past his eyes destroyed his overall image. Due to the conflict he had with the Wen family in the past, Leng Ruoxue did not like him the moment she saw him. Hence, she did not hold back when she spoke to him. "You're really looking for death?" The head of the Wen family was furious. This ugly woman in front of him was really looking down on the Wen family. Humph. If he didn't teach her a lesson today, the Wen family would become a laughing stock. In fact, he was originally staying in his room to recuperate. Who knew that the head of the Yao family would suddenly run into his room and tell him that someone from the Wen family had been beaten up? He even said that the Wen family had become the laughing stock of the divine realm. When he heard this, his anger immediately rose. Therefore, without thinking, he asked for the location of the murderer and rushed over. After he finished speaking, the Wen family head immediately made his move. A cold glint appeared in his hand and a saber that was emitting an endless amount of cold chi appeared. Immediately, he brandished the saber in his hand and slashed at Len Ruoxue. Clang! Clang! With a loud bang, the Wen family head's blade and a steel fork collided, creating countless sparks. Wen family head. You're a reverent god, so it's inappropriate for you to attack a junior. This old man will accompany you for a few moves. Uncle Long stood up and said. In fact, he had long wanted to have a good fight with the patriarchs of the 8 great divine regions. However, he was too lazy and was always unwilling to leave his residence. Therefore, this wish had never been realized. Now, he finally had the chance. Moreover, he had to come without any effort. Hee hee. Uncle Long was very happy. Who do you think you are? Are you even worthy of me making a move? The head of the Wen family said disdainfully, obviously not taking Uncle Long seriously. I'm a human, so I can't be considered a thing. Are you a thing? Uncle Long said with a look of surprise. Looking at Uncle Long's expression, Len Ruoxue laughed in her heart. It seemed like Uncle Long had a talent for angering people. Not bad. You're looking for death. The head of the Wen family roared in anger. Then, he locked his target on Uncle Long. This was Uncle Long's intention. Then, the two of them started fighting in the courtyard. Instantly, the glints of blades and the shadows of swords could be seen in the sky above the courtyard. Wherever the blue and green divine power went, it even brought up pieces of debris. However, they had only fought for a few rounds when they were suddenly interrupted by a furious voice. Damn it! Who allowed you to fight here? The great elder roared in exasperation. Looking at the courtyard full of wolves, he even felt like crying. He couldn't help but curse in his heart. This courtyard was carefully decorated by him, but now, it had become so tattered that it was unbearable to look at. This was preposterous. I didn't want to fight. It was the Wen family head who came over to teach us a lesson. Hence, I had no choice but to defend myself. Uncle Long quickly pushed the blame away. Thanks. After hearing Uncle Long's words, the head of the Wen family was so angry that he was panting. What was this? Was he making bogus accusations? Thinking of this, he couldn't help but shout, "You were the ones who injured the Wen family members first. That's why I'm here to settle the score with you. Don't try to shirk your responsibility." We're not shirking responsibility, we're just telling the truth. Besides, even if we beat up your Wen family members, we didn't destroy this courtyard. This courtyard became like this because you came to us aggressively to settle the score and wanted to stand up for your family. Master Wen, there are so many witnesses here, are you still trying to deny it? Uncle Long said with a smile. First Elder, if you don't believe me, you can ask the people here and see if it's the same as what I said, he added. There's no need to ask. I'm well aware of what kind of person Old Man Wen is. The first elder said in a bad mood. His shrewd eyes glared fiercely at the Wen family head, and his words angered the Wen family head to the point of death. Great elder. How can you accuse me without even asking? The head of the Wen family suppressed the anger in his heart and said, fuck. If this old thing was not the first elder of the Craftsmen's Guild headquarters, he would definitely teach this old thing a lesson. However, he could only endure it now. I wronged you. All right. Then I'll let you be convinced. Let me ask you, before you came here, was my courtyard like this? The great elder pointed to a ragged courtyard and asked. Ah. I didn't pay much attention to that. The head of the Wen family said shamelessly. You didn't notice? Then tell me. Wen family head, what is this place like? The first elder pointed at the others present. When the others saw that they had been dragged into the water, they all smiled bitterly. Woo! If they had known earlier, they wouldn't have come to watch the show. However, they had nowhere else to go other than this courtyard. They couldn't afford to offend the Wen family head, let alone the first elder. Hence, everyone fell silent again. Great elder. They're afraid of the Wen family head's revenge, how would they dare to say it? At this moment, Leng Ruoxue reminded them with a faint smile. The moment they heard this, everyone couldn't help but curse in their hearts. Was this woman trying to sow discord? Her words were clearly adding fuel to the fire. And if they chose the wrong side, they would lose their lives. Thinking of this, everyone wanted to cry but had no tears. Oh. That makes sense. Leng Ruoxue's words made the first elder nod his head continuously. Following that, he said angrily, "You guys are only afraid of him, so I'm easy to bully. I'm telling you, if you don't tell me the truth, I'll send you out of this house. I mean what I say." As soon as the great elder finished speaking, everyone's faces turned pale. Then, they fought to tell the truth. Great elder. It was indeed the head of the Wen family who made the first move. Great elder. I can also prove it. Everyone quickly expressed their stance, while the Wen family head's expression became more and more unsightly. The Wen family head could see that in this situation, his position as a reverent god was definitely not as important as the great elder. Otherwise, even if they didn't want to offend the great elder, they would never have been willing to offend him. However, their lives were more important now, so they didn't care at all. After realizing this fact, the Wen family head was so angry that he turned around and left. However, he had only taken 2 steps when he was stopped by Leng Ruoxue. Wen family head, you're leaving just like that? Leng Ruoxue chuckled. What else do you want? The Wen family head's eyes were spitting fire as he glared at Leng Ruoxue. You've turned the great elder's courtyard into such a dilapidated state, you should at least give some compensation, right? You can't just walk away like this. Leng Ruoxue reminded with a smile. However, she was currently in disguise, so her smile was terrifying. Shuai is right, you can't just leave like this. You must compensate me for my losses. The Grand Elder said. Good. I'll pay. The head of the Wen family gritted his teeth and cursed in his heart. However, the situation was pressing and it was not the time for him to do whatever he wanted. Hence, he had to endure it. However, he would remember all of these people. Since the Wen family head is so forthright, then we can't be stingy. Just compensate the cost price of 1 million top-grade crystals. After that, well, forget about the losses you've caused to the Grand Elder. Leng Ruoxue was very generous. However, her words made the Great Elder break out in a cold sweat. Good boy. Shuai really dared to make a bid. This was definitely an outrageous demand. However, seeing the constipated look on the Wen family head's face, even if he didn't get the money, he would still feel quite happy. 1 million. Why don't you just rob someone? As expected, the Wen family head was extremely furious and the flames of anger in his eyes burned even more fiercely. Rob? We're law-abiding citizens of the divine realm, how can we commit such an unprofessional act of robbery? Leng Ruoxue's smile was so natural. However, in the eyes of the Wen family's master, her smile was extremely unsightly.